Hello?
Oh, that was funny. Paris Brown, not Hilton. Paris Brown, Britain's first youth police crime commissioner, has apologised for a series of offensive remarks posted on Twitter. There are offensive things on the internet? I find that hard to believe. She claimed she was merely showing off and wildly exaggerating. She says, I'm so sorry, didn't mean it. I've got no idea how she speaks, but that's the voice I'm going to give her. The 17-year-old was appointed to the £15,000 a year role by the Kent Police Force. Really? 15 grand? What does she have to do for that? Some of the tweets, what she tweeted, were posted just 2 months ago and appeared to have racist and homophobic connotations. Appeared. Well, that rather implies that there is doubt one way or the other. In one message she wrote, bleeping hell. I'm cleaning this up for radio. Bleeping hell, why are the people from Direct Pizza so difficult to talk to? It's called English, learn it. And that last bit was all in capitals, which is why I shouted. By the way, if you're going to write things on the internet, avoid writing things all in capitals, because it makes you sound like you're, or look like you're, insane. That like you've lost your mind, like everything you're doing is shouting. Bleeping hell, why are the people from Direct Pizza so difficult to talk to? In another she wrote, everyone on Made in Chelsea looks like a bleeping fag. And she doesn't mean cigarette. In an apparent reference to marijuana, she wrote, I really want to make a bunch of hash brownies.
Want to score some pot?
And in another rather disturbing post, she said, I want to bleeping cut everyone around me. Really? Why would anybody write that? I mean, I don't like the people that are around me. That is acceptable. But I want to cut them? I think that should give cause for concern to everyone that's around her. She's now issued a statement apologising for any offence, what she calls... She says, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. She says, I deeply apologise for any offence caused by my use of inappropriate language and for any inference of inappropriate views. Which doesn't really sound like it was written by the same person that wrote, everyone on Made in Chelsea looks like a bleeping fag. Doesn't sound like the same person. It sounds almost as though it was written for her. An unkind person might think that. I deeply apologise for any offence caused by my use of inappropriate language. Well, on the internet it's not inappropriate, it just slips right in on the internet, almost unnoticed, unless you are Britain's first youth police crime commissioner. Could they not have given her a title that's a bit easier to say? She's going to have to have a very wide door to fit that title onto. I deeply apologise for any offence caused by my use of inappropriate language and for any inference of inappropriate views. Inference? There's no inference. I'm going to buy her a dictionary. That's not what inference means. I'll buy a dictionary, but I'm not going to send it to her. She might smoke it. She says, I am not homophobic, racist or violent, and I am against the taking of drugs. She says, if I'm guilty of anything, it's showing off and wildly exaggerating on Twitter, and I am so ashamed. But I can't imagine I'm the only teenager to have done this. That is correct, yes. Absolutely everybody that writes anything on the internet, with very few exceptions, is totally off their trolley, completely insane. Just read the stuff that's written by apparently cogent adults under the news stories in, for instance, the Daily Mail. Off the scale crazy. And not just crazy, but unhinged in a violent and disturbing way. About the hash browns thing, she cleared that up for us. Or thought that she had gone some way to doing it. You're going to like this, but perhaps not a lot. She says, just one example of wildly exaggerating is the line about hash brownies. You remember that she said, where is it? Oh yeah, I really want to make a batch of hash brownies. That's what she said. She said, How are you going to get out of that? I'll give you a pause, a moment's thought to figure out how you personally would get out of that if that's what you'd written. She said, just as one example, the line about hash brownies is a reference to a Scooby-Doo film. Yeah, that's right. Scooby's chums used to enjoy making fried potato snacks for when they were coming down from a bong hit. Groovy. Miss Brown, who lives with her family in Sheerness on the Isle of Sheppey, was unveiled last week as the country's first youth police crime commissioner. Quick, reveal her. She was chosen from a list of 164 hopefuls. Wow, can you imagine the people they must have rejected to get to her? Am I being too unkind? A little, but you know what, it's just an amusement, really, isn't it? We're just having fun here, aren't we? Are we having fun yet?
No.
She was chosen from a list of 164 hopefuls who applied for the position, which carries a salary of £15,000 a year.
What?
£15,000 a year. And offers her the use of a car. Don't give it to her. I'd like to see the calibre of those rejected. Just a couple of names. Just some photographs. Put them up on the World Wide Web. We'll make comments. Oh, the papers are absolutely loving this. All over the front pages of, the usual suspects. Meanwhile, other newspapers had some actual news, and I'll come to that in just a minute. I tell you what, the Independent knocked the ball out of the ground today. They had a super day on what is generally a slow news day, apart from the imminent collapse of the Western world and the start of World War III. The Independent really had a poor little Independent, too. I mean, they can't have any money at all. They got 6 people working for them. I don't know that that's true, but I'm just going to make it up. But they must be the least well-funded of any major newspaper, and they trounced everyone today. But anyway, I'll come to that in a sec. Anne Barnes, who was elected as Kent's Police and Crime Commissioner in last November's elections, she said, young people go through a phase during which they make silly, often offensive comments and show off on Facebook and Twitter. Phase? Yeah, it lasts until, ever. She says, I think that if everyone's future was determined by what they wrote on social networking sites between the ages of 14 and 16, we live in a very odd world. Well, that's the truth, though. We do live in a very odd world. And it's happened oh so very quickly. We're not quite used to it yet. We haven't changed our behaviour to accommodate this new, strange world we're living in. Awful things that children say to each other no longer die on the wind in the playground. They're stored forever in that great repository of all that is rude and profane, the Internet. Here's a tip. Don't tell the Internet anything. It never forgets. But Keith Vaz, the chairman of the Commons Home Affairs Select Committee, said that she should be removed from the post immediately. Oh, Keith. Have a little heart, Keith. He said, I am deeply shocked by these disclosures. This individual must be removed from their post immediately. Public money should never be given to anyone who refers to violence, sex, drunkenness, and other antisocial behaviour in this offensive manner. Oh, come on, Keith, lighten up a bit. Here, have a brownie.
Yowza.
Anyway, there's not much to say about that, unless you want to. 0845 6060 973. Let's get this important information out of the way and then we can move on. The weather. Now, you might think that, check the diary, it's the middle of, what month is it? April. It's actually the middle of April, not February, April. Doesn't feel like it. And apparently it's not going to feel like it for some considerable time. Britain should brace itself for one last week of snow. They don't know it's one last week. They're just guessing. One more week, that's what they mean. Anything beyond tomorrow is total and utter guesswork from our excellent experts at the Weather Bureau, plural. They have no idea. It's just, I'm sure they're in there flipping coins. They have a computer that covers a space as large as a football field. I'm actually not making that up. They do. Tens of millions of pounds a year. I think it's something of the order of 70 or 80 million pounds a year they cost us, these weather experts and the Met Office. And do they get anything right? They couldn't tell you what the weather's like now. And they're inviting us to believe that they know what's going to happen after next week. They don't. But anyway, let's assume that they do. Sure, why not? Britain should brace itself for at least one last week of snow and cold weather before the temperatures fully recover in mid-April. That's what they say. The freezing weather of the past month may have begun to ease off, but conditions will still remain icier than normal for this time of year until next week at least, the Met Office said. Another week of it. Can you stand it? Most of the country will continue to experience single-digit temperatures in the coming days, with conditions... Now, brace yourself. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Oh, no.
Conditions turning increasingly unsettled as the week goes on. Wind and heavy rain is due in the south. And we can expect wintry showers bearing the last snow and sleet of the year before the possibility of milder weather arises the following week. Well, wait a minute, they seem to be backtracking. First they said that that was definitely going to happen, that this is what we could expect, and now they're saying it's just a possibility. A Met Office forecaster said it looks like the conditions will turn more unsettled across much of the country. Tuesday will be a particularly wet and cold day across the south, because we're still holding on to fairly cold winds. Yes, we are. That's my prediction, that we are. He said it will be cold in the north, with the risk of wintry showers, and in the south too, and the latter part of the week will remain unsettled. More rain in the south, accompanied by winds and temperatures lingering around 9 centigrade. But conditions could improve from next weekend. There are some signs that the following week the weather will become more settled, so we can be seeing a little more sunshine. Remember that? And temperatures close to what we might get what we might expect in April. It looks like next week is the last time we will see snow on lower ground. And immediately rain is expected to arrive overnight. There are areas at risk of sleet and snow. Monday, more rain, some of it heavy. Showers spreading across the south. Temperatures 8 degrees. Still below seasonal average.
Oh, fabulous.
My thoughts entirely. 0845 6060 973. Nick Abbot, LBC 97.3. Nick's back from his shoosing, is he? Tony Blair was in the news this week, and he's in the Independent as well. This is, I should mention who I am and where we are. This is Nick Abbott on LBC 97.3. Anthony's on holiday this week. Tony Blair was in the Independent today, who, like I said, they had an excellent day, did the Independent on Sunday. And one of the things that they trounced every other newspaper on was a big story about Tony Blair. You remember Tony Blair, don't you? He popped up this week and boasted that he would have given David Cameron a run for his money in the last election. And could have been even richer if he was motivated by money.
I think this is nonsense.
Yeah, me too. The former Prime Minister said the election result would have been tighter if he had run instead of Gordon Brown, suggesting he would have been close to winning a fourth term. Careful of disappointing Gordon Brown. This is in an interview with Bloomberg Markets magazine, and he also defended the millions he's made since leaving office, arguing that he's focused mostly on charity work. And getting a tan, or so it seems. The only thing that sticks to Tony Blair, to Teflon Tony, is his tan. Have you noticed? Nothing else appears to do so. He said the motivation is not the accumulation of personal wealth. He said if I wanted to do that, I could do it a lot simpler, in a lot less time. Really? Really? The magazine has calculated that Mr. Blair and his firms have taken in £59 million since 2007. Do you want me to read you that again? Have you lapsed into shock? Do you need the kiss of life? Bloomberg Markets magazines have calculated that Mr. Blair and his firms have taken in £59 million, and his charities have made £25 million since 2007. And he said if he wanted to make more money, he could do it a lot simpler with a lot less time. Well, I wish he'd pass on that information to the rest of us, because we're desperate. The former PM has taken a number of highly lucrative jobs, advising companies such as JP Morgan, as well as states with questionable human rights records, including Kazakhstan and Abu Dhabi, if you please. He's also made money from speaking engagements over the last couple of years. Well, I speak. Where's my £59 million? Blair told Bloomberg that he is subsidising his charity work out of his own pocket. Well, he has such big pockets. He says, I am increasingly meeting the core costs of the foundations myself through the money that I make. He said it was a myth that just because you used to be British Prime Minister, people give you lots of money to play with. Really? Well, it depends what you mean by lots, I suppose. I mean, if you're a hedge fund boss, £59 million isn't lots. I mean, Bozo the Mayor would describe it as chicken feed. The former Prime Minister also defended the complex web of companies he uses for business and says he pays income tax at the full 50% top rate. Really? I wonder how he's going to defend the complex web of companies he uses for business. Have a wild stab in the dark. What's he going to say? He said, we wanted confidentiality. There's a section of the media that will go after anyone connected with me, and I can't operate like that, he said. So his financial affairs are a labyrinthine mix of complexity because the press is so mean to him. Well, let's do a straw poll in the studio then, shall we? Hands up who believe that. Hands up who do not believe that. Overwhelming. Have you ever seen such a one-sided vote?
No.
His call in... by the way, I'll get to the story that only the Independent, as far as I could tell, only the Independent had it. Shocking revelations. You will be stunned. But first, here's an important call in Blackheath. Hello, Nigel.
Hello, Nick.
Nigel.
Give me up tonight criticising the weather forecasters. Laughing my socks off. There's nothing to laugh at.
Oh, there's always something to laugh at.
I've been on a bit of a downer today, but listening to you, fantastic.
You know what you need? Magic mushrooms. This isn't me saying that. This is this is Professor Nut.
I know.
You remember that nut, don't you?
I love it.
I'll come to that story in a while. But anyway, what's up, Nigel?
If you remember, we had a gorgeous March last year.
Yes, we did.
It
yes.
turned into April, and they said the weather was going to go, and that was when the drought order was issued.
Yeah.
And down came the rain.
That's right.
And I was all the way through March, I was walking out in a T-shirt of a very light jacket. All of a sudden, I had to get
Nigel, you'd look fantastic in a very light jacket. Do you mind if I say that?
So, nothing's changed. It looks like we're in for another horrible April.
No, don't say that.
Well,
I thought you were going to say horrible summer. Horrible April.
No. Horrible next few days, because I think that's as far as they can predict. I never believe these long range.
No.
I don't know.
I wonder if my glamorous assistant could get us the long-range weather forecast so we can not believe it together. Well, I'll tell you what, if they say it's going to be great, if they say it's going to be, I hesitate to even use this phrase, a barbecue summer, then we're going to confidently expect that is what we'll get. If, on the other hand, they say that it's going to be dreadful and a repeat of last year, then we'll just ignore it and pretend they didn't say it.
Yes, this is better than the magic mushrooms. I love it.
All right, thanks a lot, Nigel.
Cheers.
Ta-da, 0845 6060 973. So I do the magic mushrooms now? Do you want to hear more about Tony Blair? All right, here's Tony Blair. This is the inside page of the... Well, it was on the front page. What did they have on the front page? I can't remember. It wasn't very much. There wasn't much on the front page. It was just see inside for shocking revelations about our old friend Tony Blair. I wonder if I have time to do this before the new news. Or whether we can get the long-range weather forecast immediately, if not sooner. Well, here's the next 5 days. You want to hear about that? Actually, you don't. It's the same, really. Every day is more or less the same. Cloudy, about 9 degrees, chance of rain. That's tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now click on further ahead, see what we get. My glamorous assistant is on the case. And then it becomes unclear. This is not a forecast. This is not a forecast. Because Friday, they seem fairly certain. It's going to be 11 degrees, partly cloudy, a little bit of rain. 4 degrees the low. And then from Saturday onwards, they just throw their hands in the air and shrug their shoulders. There's an ecstasy of shrugging. It's either going to be 7 degrees or 16 degrees on Saturday, which is the difference between freezing blooming cold and quite balmy. And then on Sunday, this is Sunday next, they are even less certain. 8 degrees or 18 degrees will be the high. That's what they say. Well, that's no kind of forecast at all. And then on Monday, it's even worse than that. This is Monday the 5th of April. Write this down in your diary. It's going to be either sunny or rainy, cloudy or clear. Have you got that? And it's going to be either 10 degrees or 19 degrees. In other words, they have no idea, not a clue. They're making this stuff up. If only they had some equipment that would help them divine the forecast more accurately. If only they had some sort of computer-based technology that would help them to accurately predict what the weather was going to be. You know, something like £100 million worth of state-of-the-art equipment. What do they do with it? It's the world's biggest paperweight. Tuesday the 16th of April, it's either going to be 8 degrees centigrade or 19 degrees. They might as well say it's either going to be, you'll either be frozen to death or it'll be hotter than the surface of the sun. Or something in between those two extremes. That's what they're predicting. And if that's what they're predicting, then, yes, they're completely correct in every respect. Talk about hedging your bets. That's rubbish. We actually pay for this stuff. You're aware of that, right? The Met Office, they're not... we pay for them. They're still run by the Ministry of Defence, aren't they? I'm asking my glamorous assistant as though she is the fount of all knowledge.
I was about to do some internet research.
Oh, well, you take all the time you need. It's a live show. No, don't bother. I'll just assume that I'm right until told otherwise. I think we're on the hook for these people for about £80 million a year. It's something like that, some staggering amount. And all they can come up with is, well, it'll be either hot or cold, rainy or dry, cloudy or clear. Is there anything else you want to know? And I can say this with absolute certainty, and I don't need a computer expert to help me come to this conclusion. This is my prediction for the weather for not just tomorrow, not just next week, but for the rest of our lives. The weather will be outside. That is my prediction. I'll be here all this week, and we'll see if I'm right. Here's the story about Tony Blair. I've kind of run out of time, so I'll have to have the news, and then I'll come back with the gruesome details. I'll give you the headline. Blair understood Libya was a greater threat than Iraq.
What?
Libya worse than Iraq. That's what Tony Blair understood. This was a quote. This is not the definitive fact, Jack. This is the Independent today. And I believe it was the only newspaper that had this. It'll be all over the papers tomorrow because, if nothing else, they play Me Too games with the press. Somebody else has got a story, somebody else will go with it first, and then everybody says, oh, me too, and then they essentially just copy and paste. So everything that I'm about to say will be in your newspaper of choice tomorrow, assuming that it's not the Independent, because they did it today. Hitherto unseen evidence given to the Chilcot inquiry by... believe that's still going? The Chilcot inquiry by British intelligence has revealed that former Prime Minister Tony Blair was told that Iraq had, at most, only a trivial amount of weapons of mass destruction. Well, what an odd phrase. A trivial amount of... There's nothing trivial about weapons of mass destruction, no matter how many you've got. But anyway, we'll skip over that. Iraq had, at most, only a trivial amount of weapons of mass destruction, and that Libya was, in this respect, a far greater threat. Can you believe it? I'll assume that the answer is yes. So I'll come back to that in a minute. We'll also have magic mushrooms and whether children are the decision-makers in your family. I'd like your input on that, please. This is something that I mentioned this week, but we didn't actually get around to talking about. Are children the decision-makers about major family decisions? You said decisions twice in the same sentence. I couldn't think of anything else to say, but that's the question. 0845 6060 973. This is Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3, the time 10:30.
You're wondering what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
Yes, for the moment it's about Tony Blair. Well, let me ask you about this. I'll pass this by you, and you can think about this issue while I tell you the gruesome details about Tony Blair that came up in The Independent today, and no other paper. Shame on the other papers. They'll have it tomorrow. In decades past, parents made decisions based on what suited them, without consulting their offspring. I was never consulted about what car we were going to get, or what holiday we were going to take, or what colour the living room was going to get painted, or what sofa we were going to get, or what we were going to eat for meals. Not even that. Today, it seems to be a different matter. Thanks to the UK's increasingly child-centric culture, parents make all big family decisions based on the needs and wants of their children, new research has revealed. Now, I wonder if this new research is chiming with your experience. 9 out of 10 parents, not a few, 9 out of 10 who expressed a preference, say they routinely involve their children in family decision-making, no matter what age they are. It used to be that you just got what you were given and shut up about it. Now children get to decide what the family watch on TV. Do they? Really? What they watch on TV? You know, before the invention of the remote control, children used to be the remote control. I can vividly remember it. Well, this was, of course, when it were horrible in my youth. We only had 3 channels, and there was always something on one of them. There had to be, because the only alternative was to switch it off, and that wasn't going to happen. And so if something, unseemly would come on, like animals would be having hot inter-animal personal relations with each other, and David Attenborough would be whispering over it, one parent or another would say, "Oh, we don't want to watch this, do we?" And that was my cue to get up and change the channel, with a big clunking switch on the front of the TV. The kids today, they don't know they're born, do they? Now, apparently, children decide what the family will watch on TV, where the family will take their holiday, what the family eat for their dinner, and even what to do on days out. 3/4 of the 2,000 parents polled encourage children to speak out and say exactly how they're feeling, good or bad. By contrast, 65% of those born a generation ago admit that they were neither offered nor took any role in making family decisions when they were young. And this is one of these surveys that comes out practically on a daily basis. It's a cheap way for an organisation to get their name in newspapers and on TV and on the radio. So they'll be undelighted to learn that I'm not going to mention their name. But I'm just going to ask you, does this actually chime with your experience? Do children make the decisions in your family? Do you defer to their wants rather than your own? Is there anything that your children have said, no, we're not having that? I mean, if it had been down to me, our first family car would not have been a Hillman Imp, for instance. They should have just asked me. Parents say today's children grow up expecting and largely getting exactly what they want. Now, I did mention this earlier in the week, whenever I was on last, and I guess it would have been Friday, and I got not one single response. Now, I wonder if it's just that parents don't actually want to speak out on this issue, whether they were feeling ashamed, or whether they just didn't recognise this. Or it has to be one or the other. 77% of parents who were asked say their children are likely to achieve far more than they did themselves because they are used to having to take part in family decisions from a very young age. So is there anything that you have let your children decide that affects the whole family? And do your children get more say than you did at their age? 0845 6060 973, he said, confidently expecting nothing in response. I expect nothing, and I get it in abundance. Right, here's this thing about Tony Blair. While those calls start pouring in, not one single one. Oh, God. Hitherto unseen evidence given to the Chilcot inquiry by British intelligence has revealed that former Prime Minister Tony Blair was told that Iraq had, at most, a trivial amount of weapons of mass destruction, what a weird word, and that Libya was, in this respect, a far greater threat. And did we go to war with Libya?
No.
Intelligence officers have disclosed that just the day before Mr. Blair went to visit President George Bush, he appeared to accept this, but returned a changed man, and subsequently ordered the production of dossiers to find the intelligence that he wanted to justify going to war. Can you believe that?
Absolutely.
I'm going to read that again. That is stunning. Intelligence officers have disclosed that just the day before Mr. Blair went to visit President George Bush. I mean, that's part of the stunning part, that George Bush used to be president of the most important country on earth. But just before Blair went to visit him in April 2002, Tony Blair appeared to accept that Libya was more dangerous than Iraq, as far as weapons of mass destruction go. But he returned a changed man, and subsequently ordered the production of dossiers to find the intelligence that he wanted to use to justify going to war. This and other secret evidence, given in camera to the inquiry, will, the Independent on Sunday understands, be used as the basis for severe criticism of of the former Prime Minister when the Chilcot report is published. Severe criticism, eh? Oh, yeah. How will he survive that? It'll drip off him like water off a duck's back. Severe criticism. Watch out, Tony, you're going to be severely criticised. He won't lose a second's sleep. This is all disclosed in an evidence session with one of MI6's most senior officers, named as SIS-4. I have no idea why they're called that, but that's what he's called, SIS-4. I'll call him Sissy for short. He'll like that. During a closed session with former MI6 Chief Sir Richard Dearlove, redacted evidence claims Mr. Blair had, this is a quote, had understood that Libya posed a bigger threat than Iraq, and understood the risk, therefore, of focusing on weapons of mass destruction in relation to Iraq. It refers to a meeting held by Mr. Blair at Chequers just days before the visit to Mr. Bush's ranch in Crawford, Texas. In 2002, British intelligence discovered that Libya has an active nuclear weapons program, according to Sir Richard. By contrast, Iraq had no nuclear weapons, and any actual weapons of mass destruction would be very, very small, and would fit in the back of a petrol lorry, they said, according to one senior MI6 officer. They admitted the danger from weapons of mass destruction was all in the cranium of just a few scientists who we never did meet and have been unable to meet ever since. What, is that, are they saying that they don't exist? Perhaps not. They're not in the phone book. Yet the weekend at Crawford in April 2002, at Bush's place, marked Mr. Blair's conversion to President Bush's way of thinking. And that's probably the first time that thinking and President Bush have appeared in the same sentence. Where previously he said, Tony Blair said, we don't do regime change, according to Admiral Lord Boyce, he came back a changed man and had converted his mind to Mr. Bush's way of thinking. We don't do regime change. Oh, yes, we do. The findings will inform a highly critical attack on Mr. Blair when the Chilcot Inquiry publishes its report later this year. Isn't that exciting?
No.
Not really, no. Nothing will happen. Before the middle of 2002, Iraq had been relatively low down the scale of preoccupations in terms of weapons of mass destruction, according to one MI6 officer, in evidence to the inquiry. In the months after Blair's return from Texas, the secret services came under pressure to come up with intelligence to support a move to war. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean manufacture. It doesn't necessarily mean make up evidence. It just means find it. The committee is expected to examine why secret warnings from senior Iraqi figures that there were no weapons of mass destruction were dismissed by British intelligence. Iraq will not be able to indigenously produce a nuclear weapon while sanctions remain in place, stated a report by the Joint Intelligence Committee in March 2002, which admitted that there had been no intelligence on chemical or biological weapons. That's what they said. Well, I mean, there is an aside to this, of course. Some of this comes with an asterisk, that Saddam Hussein actually did use chemical weapons on his own people. I mean, there is that. After the invasion in March 2003, SIS-4, this sissy fella, suggested that there was a sort of recognition that the weapons of mass destruction thing had served its purpose. We had got in. We had done the war. Wow. This is a quote too. This report will be absolutely damning on Blair's style of government, the decision-making process and the planning and the execution of its aftermath, said a source close to the inquiry, speaking before the 10th anniversary on Tuesday of the toppling of Saddam Hussein's statue. It's 10 years old. And only the Independent had that. No other paper. Like I said, they'll have it tomorrow. So, children and their choices. Let's start in Wallington. Hello, Joan.
Hello, Nick.
Joan, I've just seen the clock. Can I ask you to come back in some moments? In fact, just hold there.
Yes, I will wait.
Grip the phone in both hands, and I'll be back with you in just one moment. This is Nick Abbott for Anthony Davis, LBC 97.3.
Well, let's get back to it.
Yes, and the it in this case is a lady in Wallington called Joan. Oh, Joan?
Oh, Nick. Yes, I had a very clever way of dealing with my children to make them feel that they were partaking in decisions.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I did. But when they were quite young, I would say to them, do you want your tea before you bath or after it? And that gave them a feeling of real choice. They were going to have their bath and their tea.
Oh, I see. So what you were doing is you were slipping in the bath part.
Yes.
That's the part that they had no choice over.
Yes.
And giving them the intimation that they actually were presented with a choice, but it was the bath part was the smoke and mirrors.
Or do you want your story before your tea or after your tea or something? There were probably 3 or 4 things that would happen. But I would say, well, which do you want for that? And so they thought they were making a choice.
Did they ever say, well, can we just not have the bath?
I can't remember. Maybe bath time is quite a heavy thing, you know. So I probably would have got out of it if I could have, but...
Heavy?
Well, yeah, it's a bit of...
Did you have one of those baths that you have to lug out of the kitchen and put in front of the fire? Is that what you mean by heavy?
Not really. But the other thing was when they were older, and I often said, I think it was probably a Friday night when I thought things were possible, that I would say to them, no, you can... And don't forget, 3 of them mine were boys. So this adds to the story.
The general
I would
horror,
say to them, you can choose anything you want for your meal tonight. Anything you want.
That's a bit
dangerous. Mind you, they didn't know about smoked salmon or lobster, so, you know.
Well, kids don't like that stuff, do they? Because it tastes of something.
And, of course, invariably, they would think very hard. Mm-hmm. And then they would say, yep. Sausages, beans and chips.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say something like that. I thought you were going to say fish fingers.
No, sausages, beans and chips. And it never varied. So that was easy, wasn't it?
So this is the food that you would serve to them? But just on a Friday?
No, probably they got it other times as well. But it was their favourite food. So they were making a choice. They were having what they really wanted. They were choosing.
Yeah.
But that was all it was. You know.
Did you ever consult them about where you were going on holiday, for instance?
I don't know, I might have, but of course it would be my decision, but I might have talked to them about it because there was so little choice anyway. It was, do you want to go for a week in the Beetle to Devon, or do you want to go for a week in the Beetle to Yorkshire? And
yeah.
You know, and they thought it was wonderful waiting for that week. Because, you know, you could say, if you're not good, no holiday.
Well, now, wait a minute, because the part of the holiday that you've described, the Beetle part of the holiday does mean a long trip in a tiny, cramped car with kids stuffed into the back seat, all fighting over Did they have an armrest?
Oh, good heavens, no.
No.
I don't think so.
Only plush executive cars have backseat armrests. What am I thinking?
Yeah, but they quite enjoyed it because we always went very in the middle of the night. So they got woken up.
Well, that sounds more like you're fleeing.
Yeah, a bit like that. In their pyjamas and all piled in with blankets into the back seat.
Yeah.
I suppose one of them came in the front with me.
It sounds more like an escape than a well, I suppose holidays are an escape, but literally in this case.
And then I'd say we'd stop for breakfast. And after we got an hour or so down the road, we'd pull in somewhere, and we'd have our cornflakes and our whatever. And they thought that was a great adventure, and then they went back to sleep.
Well, that does sound like fun. Can I come on the next holiday?
Yes. I think you would make it fun.
Can I sit in the front seat?
And then once we went away, and it was the one for going up to Yorkshire. And we set off in the same way, very early in the morning, and I thought, as a special treat, we were going to pull into the, those services areas.
Little Chef?
No, it was one of those other ones.
Oh, right, okay.
And I said, you can have a proper breakfast in this place and all that. And then we all sat down for our breakfast, and it was all very exciting. And I suddenly realised I didn't know where we were going.
What?
I really hadn't.
You didn't know where you were going?
I hadn't.
What, you
had
just
a
set
letter.
off in a random direction?
Well, I'd sent a letter off, and I'd had confirmation, but I'd never had confirmation of where the key was and what number the house was in this village.
Now,
Literally.
This would, you see films of, I don't know, like 20 years ago, something like that, and somebody will be fleeing from a pursuer, and you think, well, just use your mobile phone. But, of course, they didn't have mobile phones, and neither did you. You couldn't look it up
No.
on the internet,
No.
Joan, because no one had thought of it yet.
No, absolutely nothing. So I said, there's a little bit of a hitch, I said. But
We're staying here.
don't worry about a thing. Don't forget, I had no money, and this little cottage had been pre-booked, and it was absolute minimal rent.
Yeah.
And I said, don't worry. I said, if we can't find the house, we will go somewhere else. So, and they didn't worry. They didn't worry at all. So we got to this little village, and I looked around, and I thought, well, it's got to be one of those three. That's the only one that would be doing it. So I went round, and oh, no, I didn't go round. That's right. I just thought, well, a neighbour will know something. So I went and knocked on the neighbour's door, and she said, oh, yes, I know which one it is. It's the end one. And the key will be in the back door. And
In
key
the back
wasn't.
door?
Yes.
Not under the mat. Actually in the door.
Yeah.
Well, it's the best place to keep it. That way you'll never lose it.
So everything was just fine.
Yeah. That really is a different era,
Yeah.
ain't it?
Well, can I just say about the weather, though? And you're going to hate me, and you're going to scream at me
Oh,
and
God.
everything.
Here we go.
Right? But I am right.
Is it
No
the
matter
EU?
what, I'm right. I got up this morning. Now, I remember that the forecast yesterday was for a very sunny day
Yeah.
up until it would then go hazy in the afternoon.
And
I
there
thought,
were-
I know why.
Yeah.
So I was up by 7 because I was going up to London today. It was very nice. And I thought it was bright sunshine. And then within 20 minutes, all came the white streaky things.
Mm-hmm.
And by 8 o'clock, the whole sky was hazy in this area.
Was it
Then
Tony Blair's fault?
Then I got on the bus all the way up to London. There were the streakies and the hazy bits. Streakies and hazy bits. You could watch it happening. Now, well, go on then. Say I didn't see it. Say I wasn't watching. Say it didn't happen.
Well, what you're implying is that it's some sort of government conspiracy to make it cloudy.
Yes, now you've hit it
Oh,
on the
come
head.
on, Joan.
What is it then? All right, you tell me what that was.
It's just
Greg.
weather.
No. White lines are not weather. Are they
No, that's
white
just planes.
lines?
Planes. It's planes. It's just
No,
planes.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely not planes.
Yeah.
They're planes that not.
I'm
not for
prepared to be.
passengers.
I'm prepared to be convinced about conspiracy theories about some things, but
It's not a conspiracy theory.
a little bit. Yeah, a little
I'm
bit of
watching
conspiracy
it.
theory.
I'm watching it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll keep my eyes peeled for it next time. Thanks a lot, Joan.
Thank you.
0845 6060 973. Here is Tunbridge Wells. Hello, Mark.
Good evening, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Well, you know the thing going back to Tony Blair and the whole thing in Iraq and Saddam and the Middle East. It's always about regime change.
Yeah.
I think that not that anyone cares what I think, but when he finally left office and then Brown took over, I don't think that was very democratic. And when I said to people that I didn't think it was very democratic, they said, well, he's the new party leader, so he becomes prime minister. So, in theory, if David Cameron wins the next general election, and then Boris Johnson becomes an MP and then decides to take over as the new Tory party leader, he could then prime minister, wouldn't he?
I'm with you. I was outraged at the time because I don't believe that anybody had voted for Gordon Brown, but people hadn't even considered the possibility that Gordon Brown would be Prime Minister, and that he just was allowed to step into the job just seemed bizarre to me. I couldn't quite believe that it was happening.
I thought I was the only person in the world that thought it was really, really outrageous, and that it's not in the country where we've got the most incredible democracy, if we actually used it. I thought, what a bloody liberty! This guy's a moron.
Well, let's not get carried away, Mark. He was prudent. He was prudent in his decisions. Don't upset Darth Gordon.
Anyway, there we are.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Cheers.
Yeah, I was equally bemused and befuddled by that. But if that is apparently the way it is. But it's not the way it should be. Because people do vote for personalities. And the Americanization of British politics is complete. People don't. People used to vote for parties, and they used to be unswerving in their support. They used to be lifelong Labour supporters or lifelong Tories. Some people would be, Liberal Democrats. Not so many. But these days, and it was particularly evident in the last election when we had the television debates, people can be swayed by personalities. People are swayed by how people appear on television. And well, look at Boris Johnson, for instance. Did people vote for him because they had read his manifesto and they agreed with what he planned?
No.
Of course not. They voted for him because he was a personality, because he was that funny bloke off the telly. And so if next time we vote for, in the unlikely circumstance, to me it just seems the possibility of it is weird. But then the possibility of electing a B-movie actor to be president of the United States, that's also weird. But if we vote as a country for Boris Johnson to be our Prime Minister, then how bizarre would it be for, I don't know, pick the name of some no-mark here, to just step smartly over Boris and take the mantle? Because that's not what we would want. I don't think people in the same number vote for parties as they do personalities. That's why Nick Clegg was such a hit in the last election. I personally voted for him. And I did it for the most superficial of reasons, because he seemed the least the least unpleasant person on TV in those debates. He seemed like, and I hesitate to use this word in this context, the most normal. If somebody put a gun to my head and insisted that I make a choice on sitting down and having a drink with one of them, Dave or Gordon or Nick, then it would have to be Nick. In the vain hope that he would invite me to his 20-room, £7 million Swiss palace to, have a little light skiing. Or the mansion that he uses in Bordeaux. But the people who voted for Tony Blair absolutely did not, in any large number, vote for Gordon Brown to be their leader. That's almost the last thing that they voted for, and yet he just stepped smartly in and took over. How weird is that? Is that any way to run a country, I ask you? So I'll repeat the question. Do your children affect the decisions that you make for your family in a way that perhaps was not the case when you were a child? Do your children make your family decisions for you? 0845 6060 973. This is Nick Abbot, LBC 97.3.
Oh, righty then.
You can get in touch with me for free. Facebook may charge, but only for celebrities. I'm not even celebrated in my own flat. Don't cost nothing to get in touch with me, not by text. 84850. Well, it will cost you your whatever you pay for texts. Most people get them for free. I've got something like something preposterous, like 200, 500 free texts a month. I use maybe one because I'm not 12. And by the way, you know, that Paris, what's her name, who is the new child police commissioner, whatever her name is, Paris, where is it? One moment, please, I have detailed files. Paris Brown. She did kind of speak a little bit like the voice that I gave her some moments ago, but I'm beginning to warm to her. Why should she be judged for some stupid remarks she made when she was just a child? However, some of those tweets were posted just 2 months ago. But she's, achieved maturity since then, in those long 60 days, since she said things like, everyone on Made in Chelsea looks like a bleeping fag. That's what she said. Bleeping hell. Why are the people from Direct Pizza so difficult to talk to? It's called English, learn it. The thing is, the internet allows people to expose their inner crazy. They say things that they would never say in real life, in much the same way that driving a car allows people to express their inner nutcase, like walking on a pavement wouldn't. People are shouting at each other and waving their fists and giving each other one-fingered salutes in their cars just for the tiniest infraction, just for delaying them but a second. And people have this unhinged response. And I think it's got to do mostly with a lack of face-to-face interaction. Because if you're in your car, then you are in your own little bubble. You can lock your doors, and you don't have to actually deal with somebody personally. In fact, unless it's under the most extreme circumstances, you won't even stop. It'll be a drive-by insult. And it's the same thing on the internet. If you want to know what people are like, don't take them at face value, because the interaction with people on face value, they're on their best behaviour, because they know they may get a punch up the hooter. If you want to know what people are like, look at what they say on the internet, because that is actually what people are like. That is the whirling eddy of bile that is within us. I want to bleeping cut everyone around me, said Britain's first youth police crime commissioner. Some texts and emails. On that subject, the way the dogs in the media pounced on Paris Brown was disgusting. She was treated like another Philpot. They should pick on somebody their own size. So is this one? Wait a minute, I'll just have to pick up a mouse with which I can work this pewter. On the subject of the weather, this says, is it true that summer will be on a Wednesday this year? Yes, in the afternoon, between 3 and 4. And Malcolm says the weather is so called because we never know whether it's going to be wet or whether it's going to be fine. These are the jokes, folks. On the subject of the weather, by the way, it's about to affect the food on your plate. The rain, snow and ice this year has led to the lowest yielding and poorest quality crops since the drought of 1976. Oh, 1976. I can still feel its warmth from this distance away. One of the wettest winters and coldest springs on record has meant that crops of many vegetables are in short supply. And imports are replacing a lot of products normally grown at home. Vegetables? Who cares? As long as we'll still get chips.
Correct.
Except, now the Potato Council has warned that stocks are down by almost 20% because of the heavy rainfall. A 2.5 kilogram bag of white potatoes has gone up by an average of 43%. Did you notice? It seems like overnight. I mean, I know it probably wasn't, but it seems that way. You go to the supermarket, and things that used to be 54p, 69p, They seem to have abandoned that, and everything's just rounded up now. Do you know that an ordinary cost lettuce is £10? A 2.5 bag of white potatoes has gone up by an average of 43%, from £1.35 this time last year to £1.93 now. £1.93. And it's likely to rise even further as growers suffer further setbacks from the weather. Customers have also been told to expect higher prices on carrots, peas and tomatoes, because much of the planned crop was not planted or is being stunted by lack of light. So am I. I feel I'm being stunted by lack of light. I don't think I've really taken a walk of any description apart from to and from the car, which is only like 10 yards, or the tube, since well, I can't remember when. Like Christmas? Before? I haven't seen outside for as long as I can remember. Vegetables such as broccoli and peas and bulbs such as onions are expected to go up by at least 15p a pound, said experts, while seasonal British fruit will be at least 6% dearer than last year, which was too dear to begin with. I mean, have you seen the price of berries? That's like millionaire food now. I'm one of those people that hover around the berry counter and wait for them to put a discounted sticker on the mouldy ones, and then I'll pounce on it, elbowing pensioners out the way. Just pull out the mouldy ones, stick them in the freezer, and there's nothing wrong with them. That is not the official position of LBC, by the way, because you might eat one and die, but that's just what I do. I'm just telling you what I do. Don't do what I do what I say. For the first time in a decade, Britain is to become a net importer of wheat after 12 months of poor harvests. We can't even feed ourselves now. A forecast for the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board. You imagine being the receptionist for that organisation. All day long, every time the phone rings, Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, how may I direct your call? They suggest that 1.5 million tonnes more wheat are going to be imported this year than is exported because of a combination of last year's poor yields and poor planting conditions. Graham Beattie, the managing director of Branston Potatoes, said he's importing stuff from France. Customers are likely to notice the hike, but unfortunately it has become unavoidable, he said. It doesn't look like the price is going to come down either. As in, ever. Get used to it. He said, nothing grows in these temperatures. It's the beginning of April. I can't see a single leaf, which is incredibly rare. That's right. Trees should be in leaf now, shouldn't they? I don't know why I'm asking you. Why would you know?
I haven't seen trees for a long time.
No, tree. Oh, I can remember trees. I can remember when all this was fields. He said nothing grows in these temperatures. Customers are likely to find more French potato varieties, such as the Belle de Fontenay, in supermarkets. Well, we can make French fries with those. Some of Britain's largest supermarkets have warned that customers can expect higher prices on everything. Not just a couple of things here and there. Every single thing is going up. Great. The managing director of Waitrose predicted the effects of the poor crops will be felt for 2 years. March saw the largest month-on-month rise in the price of fresh food for 3 years, according to the British Retail Consortium. And a spokesman for Waitrose said it was supporting growers by selling cosmetically imperfect fruit. Just like this show. This show supports cosmetically imperfect fruit. You would agree with that, wouldn't you?
I agree.
Yeah. 0845 6060 973. Just as I predicted, not one single, well, one parent, just one, wants to admit that their children make their family decisions. I thought that I would get a tsunami of people saying, yeah, I can't believe it, but we let our kids decide everything. But nobody wants to admit, either nobody wants to admit it, or that survey was false. Either that, or they were lying to us. But it seemed conclusive. 9 out of 10 parents said that their children make family decisions for them, whereas when they were children, they did not. I am stunned. Look at that switchboard. Tumbleweeds are blowing through that switchboard. Oh, blimey. Here we go again. Let's talk about David Cameron. Excuse me, David Cameron again. You remember when George Osborne was... George Osborne... when he was caught parking in a disabled bay... Oh, boy, did we have fun with that. I'll just run back over that. George Osborne has been photographed using a disabled parking bay to park his chauffeur-driven car, if you please, as he stopped to buy lunch. The Chancellor photographed getting into the Land Rover, parked in a... it wasn't a Land Rover, was it? It wasn't a Range Rover, something far more posh. It was parked in the restricted space without a disabled badge on display as he travelled back from a speaking engagement at a nursery in Cardiff. Worst school visitor ever. Can you imagine how distraught the little children must have been? They were looking forward to Barney the elephant, or whatever that character is, or somebody with bunny ears, and and in strolls George Osborne at a nursery. Anyway, he said he had no idea that a car he was travelling in parked in the disabled bay. How can you have no idea where your car is parked when you're in the car that's parked there? Just asking. Treasury sources said that Mr. Osborne had been dropped off at the entrance to a service station on the M4 to buy food. When he returned to the... What, he went off on his own to buy food? Well, he's a popular chap. He can walk wherever he likes. People constantly applauding his appearance wherever he shows up. They say... When he got back to the vehicle, it had parked in a disabled bay, but it drove off when he got back. A witness told the Daily Mirror, he said, "I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this driver pull into the disabled parking bay. It's not as if they were in a rush to move. The car park wasn't exactly full, and there were plenty of other ordinary spaces." The chief executive of the disability charity Scope said that in light of the benefit cuts for disabled people, they will feel that his use of the bay was rubbing salt in the wounds. Well, you know what, his driver saw the larger, more convenient parking space and just assumed that it was for government officials. But we're all in this together, and blah, blah, blah. And you remember, it's not the first time that Osborne's travel arrangements have caused controversy. Last year he was caught in a first-class carriage on a train with a standard-class ticket, if you please, and was forced to pay for a £160 upgrade. Well, you'd think that the government would be on full alert that they wouldn't make that mistake again, not in the same week anyway. And guess what? They did. And I'll come to that in just a minute. This is Nick Abbott for Anthony Davis, LBC 97.3. I suppose you think what I do is a worthless job. I love that. The colour must have drained from his face. Poor Nick. Anyway, you'd think that after the debacle that I have just described about parking in a disabled bay, they just must have thought that it was, for officials, because it was much wider and more luxurious a bay than everyone else, than all the others that they could see. Oh, that's for us, they thought. Well, we'll just stick it there. I can't believe that Osborne actually got out of the car and went to get his own food. But anyway, you would think that any government official, even a low-ranking government official, would avoid any parking malpractice in light of the publicity that got. And you'd be completely incorrect in every respect. None other than David Cameron himself, the Prime Minister, left his Jaguar for 3 hours in a 30-minute bay on the same day that it was revealed that Osborne parked his car in a disabled space. Cameron ignored the sign. Ignored the sign. Can you believe that? And the way it's written, you sort of assume that he saw the sign and then gave it a haughty harumph and walked straight by it. He ignored the sign, which gave him only a half an hour in the restricted zone, while he worked at his constituency office in Whitney in Oxfordshire. I wonder what he does there. Puts his feet up, eats an apple, watches a rerun of Cheers. What can he do there? He was seen arriving in a Jaguar car with his security team in a Land Rover Discovery at 2 p.m. on Friday. They reportedly drove off after Mr. Cameron left his office at 4:45 p.m. Guilty! The cars were left just yards from a visible sign which stated, Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m, 30 minutes, no return within 1 hour. He was there for 3 hours, only supposed to be there for 30 minutes. The PM was thought to have met Oxfordshire County Council Deputy Leader Rod, whose brief includes looking after transport issues. Well, Rodney, can I suggest that you have a word in his ear? One witness said, I have actually had a ticket for parking more than 30 minutes in this zone, and I know how heavily it is policed. Whitney is normally patrolled by loads of parking attendants. But none were in evidence today. Not one, he said. Suspicious? Yes. Near the offices in a shopping mall are places where vehicles can be left for up to 5 hours for free in a 590-space car park. Free is apparently not good enough. But, we're all equal in the eyes of the law, and we're all in this together, and blah, blah, blah. Here is Bayswater. Hello, John.
Oh, hi, Nick.
John.
Maybe you think about changing the boo jingle. I noticed maybe you change it for a hooray jingle. You see that? Everybody's agreeing with him. Everybody's agreeing with him now about this welfare debate.
Yes.
Aren't they?
Well, everybody's saying me too, because they've seen the coverage in the press, and they've seen that the public seem to be persuaded, if not furious, and they say, oh, well, let's go with this then.
Practically the whole country, about 80% or something, agreeing with him, so maybe you should change the jingle. But I do love the jingle. Where did you find it?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, okay. I was going to talk about Blair.
Yeah.
With the Gaddafi and the other bloke, Hussein. Mm-hmm. I mean, he obviously he was having his holidays with Gaddafi, wasn't he?
Yeah, they used to shack up together in a tent.
Staying in his tent all the time, wasn't he? I mean,
they used to go camping together. Can you believe that?
So, and he had this issue, didn't he? George's father had this issue with Hussein, and he had to get back at him,
what
didn't
issue?
He? Well, because he was pushed out, wasn't he, in the last war, in the previous war with Iraq. George Senior.
Oh, George Bush. Right.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, I come with you.
Not Osborne.
Right, okay, yeah. I was momentarily confused there, yeah. George Bush.
Getting our Georges mixed up. Yeah. No, George Senior, I mean, he had this big issue, didn't he, with having to be pushed out, or not getting as far as Baghdad or something, and then leaving it. And then, then Hussein got back
War Part 1, not a tremendous success. Yes. So they had Part 2.
He was pressurizing George Jr.
Well, that's what they say. Yeah. Or they may not have been pressured from above, but if you're the son of a man who failed ignominiously, then you perhaps would want to clear up that.
Well, these guys are so powerful, aren't they? I mean, it's like a personal thing. I mean, not the whole world suffers, but it's like a little personal game they're playing. Even Tony Blair, I mean, won't pick on Gaddafi because he's his mate. Yet he'll pick on Hussein. Knows nothing about. It seems it's sort of just a personal thing, which is a bit like the Bankers Act, isn't it? The way that the bankers act with the power that they have, they can just sort of get everything wrong, ruin the country, and get off scot-free.
And carry on regardless.
And it's the same. Yeah, it's the same with. I mean, look at this Hornby bloke. I mean, who's now been told that
great trains.
He should never pursue any financial thing again. He's now running Corals, the bookies.
Well, there's some of those stories are eye-opening, and there's some commentators in the press who have clipped some stories out. I wrote some blogs about this myself, but some other people, like Nick Cohen in The Observer today, wrote an excellent article, which I would invite you to read. I might read some clips from it myself.
Well, Hornby.
just about bankers in general, and then there are the stories that you are referring to, and I might come to that as well. That's the story that will keep on giving.
It's the same. So I was sort of drawing the parallel with Blair and Bush and people like that, and the bankers. They're all the same. It's like a little world that they live in, which is just themselves. The whole country is at stake, yet they can do what they want.
Well, I wonder if you and I would not do the same in their position. Not the same as they had done, but act in the same way. Because if power is given to people, they will use it up to and including all of the power that they have been given. People, that's just human nature, isn't it?
It's a horrible thought, but you're probably right. But, I mean, I can't believe that I would do that, but when you're put in that position, you don't know what you're going to do.
Well,
do you,
exactly,
really?
yeah.
But
I mean, if your integrity is being impugned, or somebody has said that you have smelly pants, or any of these things, then you will want to get back at them.
But they all do it, don't they? All the leaders, they're all the same. They get too powerful, and they just get ridiculous.
Well, I don't know. Are they all the same? You would hope that for the future of mankind, that we can vote for human beings, and they not be gripped with insanity the moment they get their hands on the mantle of power.
If there are any decent ones, they just disappear. They disappear from the political scene. You don't hear from them again. I'm sure we've had some decent, sort of fairly promising leaders, but they just disappear because they're not powerful enough or something. You've got to be powerful
or popular.
Crazy.
You have to come over, particularly today, you have to come over well on television. And if you can't do that, then you're sunk. Which doesn't actually say much about us. Maybe it's our fault, John.
What about Portillo and people like that? I mean, he was quite a reasonable sort of bloke, but...
He was, well, I don't know.
He made
really?
sense.
He had a lot of people very upset with him. When he lost to that fellow whose name I can't remember, I think half of the country did a little giddy dance. Do you remember that night?
Oh, we lost to, I can't remember.
No, I can't remember what his name is either, but shame on us for not remembering. But I don't think that people were behind him in any great number that night.
No, you're right.
I think we were quite happy that he got skewered.
Wasn't it that he said he had a gay experience or something?
Well, let's not get into all that, John.
No, but do you think that that might have had? It was just the effect on the population, whereas now they wouldn't care. But I mean, in those days, I think it was a big thing, wasn't it?
No, because wasn't the
that was the reason. That's what brought him
No, I don't
down.
think so, because the fella that he lost to, wasn't he actually? Correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be wrong, but wasn't the fella that he lost to actually gay, 100%? Or have I got that incorrect?
I can't think of it. Was he lost to?
Yeah, but I may have that right. I may have that wrong. If not, then I apologise unreservedly.
I'm sure that was the reason he was actually. He had to stand down, or he decided to stand down, or something.
Well, I think he probably saw that he could earn more elsewhere. That is, catching trains catching trains with the camera crew.
Well.
Yeah, quite right. Anyway, John, I've got to go, but thanks a lot, mate. 0845 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @lbc973. Who was that fella? Stephen Twigg, right? Have I got that correct? Stephen Twigg is the name. And did I get the information that I just passed on correct too? Well, we'll find out. If I don't return, then I've got it wrong. This is Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3. The time 11:30.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
So I've just been looking it up on the World Wide Web, and it seems I was completely correct in every respect. It's wearying being right about everything all the time. You would agree with that, wouldn't you, Vera?
I do agree.
In the 1997 election, he was elected, this is Michael Portillo, he was elected to Parliament for Enfield Southgate. I don't know, I just can't put him together in that place. He doesn't seem like an Enfield kind of guy. But anyway, let's move on. The constituency in which he'd been born and raised. Well, how about that? I got that wrong. There'd be a enlarged swing to him from his Conservative opponent, Michael Portillo. What? There had been a large swing to him from his Conservative opponent, Michael Portillo. I thought we were talking about Michael. Oh, this is Stephen Twigg. Talking about the wrong page. Stephen Twigg is the fellow that beat Michael Portillo. Portillo was widely tipped to be the next Tory leader in the late 1990s, and he lost his seat. Losing his seat was the most iconic moment of the election. I remember it well. I can remember the look on his face. I can remember the look on Stephen Twigg's face, too. Stephen Twigg's face was like, oh, I can't believe it. And the whole nation did a little giddy dance. Well, most of us. Michael Portillo was something of a bête noire. He seems to have rescued his reputation. Now he's just like a cuddly bloke who does travel stuff. I'd never seen any of his shows, but hasn't he sort of tried to don the mantle of the charming bloke out of Monty Python? What's his name? Who's the charming bloke out of Monty Python? Michael Palin is the correct answer. Yeah, isn't Michael Portillo trying to be, or trying to position himself alongside Michael Palin? I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I think we like Michael Palin more. He just seems more pleasant, more nice, more cuddly, less of a side to him. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, this is the story of the election. For many, Portillo, widely tipped to be the next Tory leader, losing his seat was the most iconic moment of the election. A book of the election by Brian Cathcart was titled, Were You Still Up for Portillo? Yes. Yes, I was. In the Royal Festival Hall in London, the scene of the Labour Party celebrations that evening, the result elicited a massive cheer as Portillo was not only a cabinet minister and was widely tipped as a future leader of the Conservative Party, but he was widely loathed among Labour supporters. And they said as one... No! So, yeah, it was Stephen Twigg. Good for Stephen Twigg. I wonder what he's doing now. Twigg was the first man to be openly gay at the time of his election to the House of Commons when he was elected in the 97 general election. It was a close contest, as just 21 minutes later, Ben Bradshaw was elected for Exeter. And what's he doing now? Twigg was elected as the Labour cooperative candidate for Liverpool West Derby at the 2010 general election. He was elected with a massive majority, garnering 64% of the vote. Wow! In October 2010, he unsuccessfully contested the election for the Shadow Cabinet, coming 36th out of 49 candidates. On 7th of October 2011, appointed to the post of Shadow Secretary of State for Education, following the Shadow Cabinet reshuffle. And is that where he resides to this moment? I don't know, because that is I've reached the limit of my interest in that subject. So I will look no further. But take this call in Surbiton. Hello, Diana.
Hello, Nick.
Diana,
All right.
I am super. Thanks for asking.
I was going to say about decision-making with children.
Oh, yes.
With our three, we obviously, if it involved the children and they were an age to make decisions, then we would sit down and discuss it.
Well, like what? What sort of things?
Well, sort of holidays, whatever it involved the children, where we was going out for the day, for a day's outing, you know, that sort of thing.
Well, how old would you start talking to them about that kind of thing?
It all depends on the child, and you know how the child matured. Because usually the elder child is the most mature. Because I had three, the elder child is the most matured one, isn't it? Out of the three.
But give us an idea of what sort of age you're talking about, like 5 or 15?
Well, my son, you could make it sort of the age of 4. Because he was quite, quite bright.
And were you similarly asked when you were 4 years old about where you were?
No, because I was born just after the Second World War. I was going to say the first. The Second World War, and you didn't have niceties like that in days, did you? This is it. You know, you had a different childhood. You had all the food rations and everything like that. It's a different childhood altogether, them days, you know what I mean, to what mine had.
So you were never asked, for instance, what you wanted for dinner? You were just given it, am I right?
Well, because I just told you, because we had food shortages.
I know, but you still had a choice, though,
that,
Diana. Well, you didn't starve, but you had a choice.
No.
You might not have had a lot of food in the cupboard, but at least you had a choice of either one thing or the other. But my guess is you didn't get given a choice. You would just get given dinner.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But once a week, my children would have their choice of food, what they wanted. But I'll make you laugh about our son. We went on holiday one year, and every day he had pasty and chips. Every day. Oh, we couldn't stop laughing as a family. We said that pasties and chips was coming out of his ears, you know what I mean? But, as I say...
What a horrible image you're leaving us there with, Diana.
But all our children, they belong to guides, brownies, scouts, cubs, you know what I mean? They all have where they went away with them quite a lot, you know. So, you know, their time was taken up like that.
Yeah.
But we often went out...
At which point they probably weren't given a choice about what to do, because in those militaristic organisations, you just did what you were told, right? Isn't that the essence of it?
Well, that's it. Basically, one of mine got a job on belonging to scouting, because though he never had any qualifications, they said, well, he's well organised and that. You know what I mean? Because they were impressed by that. You know, so... it does help. This is it. You know what I mean? But,
OK, all right. I do know what you mean, Dana. I do know what you mean. Thanks.
Just let me get another thing in.
Oh, God.
Just let me get another thing in.
Yes.
Right. It's going off what we're talking about, right? They're talking about the welfare system is making it fairer, right?
Yeah.
What about the bankers? How about making that fairer?
I don't think there's any chance of that, Diana. They wield too much power.
Yes. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Definitely, it stinks, doesn't it? Definitely.
Right. So we're in agreement with each other then.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Diana. 0844. It does stink. She's right. Maybe it's time to read this thing about Nick Cohen. Nick Cohen in the Observer today had an excellent column. Well done, Nick. I agree with every single word you said. I might come to that in just a minute. Meanwhile, here's a call in Hillingdon. Hello, Charlie.
Hello.
Charlie.
Hello. Yeah, I'm just calling. I've never called you before, but just a minute ago you talked about how one of the supermarkets was saying, the weather's affecting crops, it's going to shoot the costs higher. Mm-hmm. I've never heard such rubbish, and I hear it every year. I've worked in food retail a long time for two major supermarkets. Will remain nameless because they don't need the publicity. But, you see, the thing is, last year, April was the wettest one on record, bizarrely enough.
Just for information purposes, in what capacity did you work for them?
I was sales assistant, mainly on the fruit and veg and fresh provisions departments.
Okay.
And, you see, the year before last, the summer started, well, it didn't start too early, but it was warmer than usual. It was the warmest one on record, apparently. But that was affecting crops, saying that there was flowering too early, it was going to make them get mature too soon, so they was going to have to get fruit and veg abroad. After nearly 15 years working in food retail, barely ever do I see any of it come from the UK anywhere. It's always from the Ivory Coast, or from France or Belgium.
Yeah, well, that is true, yeah. It's quite difficult buying apples, for instance, that come from this country.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, I thought that's where apples came from, this country, but apparently not. They come from France or South Africa or America or anywhere but here.
And even strawberries from Egypt and everything from everywhere. I mean, that's the world we live in now. Nothing comes from the UK anymore. I just think it's a huge conspiracy from the supermarkets to justify putting the prices up because we're in a recession. And if you're rich enough to buy furniture, you're not going to buy it from a supermarket. You're going to go to a major furniture place like, I don't know, Harrods or something. Do you know what I mean? So I think, up a bit, let's make some money, let's put the cost of food up a bit and hopefully mask it and blame it on the weather.
What's that got to do with furniture?
You what?
Well, you took a detour into the furniture department of Harrods.
What I mean? I mean? If these supermarkets have built these big, massive shops, right? Yeah. And back in the good times, maybe we had a bit more money, we'd go to the supermarket and buy everything from apples to tables. But now the recession's hit in, the poorer people can only afford food. So now the bigger supermarkets have thought, well, hang on a minute, now I've got a shop full of things no one can afford. People are just buying food now. So if we put the price up on that a bit, it'll pay for everything else. Do you know what I mean? Do you know where I'm coming from?
Hillingdon? No, I don't remember a supermarket ever selling tables, but they do sell other things, and I thought that other things that they sold actually made more money than the food side per square foot of shop
Well, it
space.
did back in the day, but I mean, if you've ever been into a larger supermarket, the busiest side at the moment is the food side.
Yeah, the crisp aisle, that's the busiest one.
Exactly. Everyone's beefing up on that, do you know what I mean? Storing it all up like a hamster for the winter.
Yeah.
That we're in a longer winter this year, aren't we? But I mean, when they keep saying, though, that the prices are going up because of the weather, it's rubbish because 2 years ago, apparently it was too warm too soon, and that was in February, which leaves the farmers a window between February and March to get all the growing and fruit and vegetable.
Yeah, so in other words, it's always just some blooming excuse and they're making this stuff up, right?
We're never allowed to enjoy summer. That's another thing, though. I mean, you can guarantee the first hot week we'll have, the global warming brigade and the climate change control people will be out. Oh, it's too warm, and it's all your fault for driving your car to work.
You will never, ever, ever hear me, unless I'm on fire, Charlie, you will never hear me say it's too warm.
You'll be getting on the tube, and it's too warm for cattle to be travelling on the tube, but the humans will be able to go on a 200-degree tube land, you know what I mean?
You know, I'm lucky enough not to have to travel in the rush hour on the tube, so, I mean, I suppose in that respect, my experience doesn't chime with everybody else's. I can understand why people on the tube at 8, like in Camden Town Tube at 8:30 in the morning, crushed in there like sardines in 100-degree heat. I can understand why they would complain it's too hot, yes.
I can guarantee you that is exactly what will happen. I guarantee you the first week they'll say it's global warming or climate change, as they've rebranded it now because they've thought, oh, hang on a minute, it's a bit cold. We still have seasons.
Yeah.
We'll call it climate change.
Not global warming anymore, it's climate change, that's right.
Exactly, they never call it global warming, now it's climate change, isn't it?
Well, that's because everybody says, well, it can't be global warming because it's blooming freezing outside. So that just to knock that argument on the head, now it's climate change. Well, it's quite right too. We are experiencing climate change. Only a fool would deny it. You would agree with that, wouldn't you, Charlie?
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot. 0845 6060 973. This is Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Yes, it's Bromley. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Nick.
Rebecca.
Yep, you have to excuse me. My Sunday night is like a Saturday night because I've been up at 6 o'clock working. But
what do you do, Rebecca?
I'm a domiciliary carer, Nick.
You're a what now?
Domiciliary carer. Going to the elderly home.
Domiciliary?
Yeah.
That's a new one on me. What does that mean?
That means you go to people's homes that need care, elderly, palliative care, and you help them in their own home, bathing, all the rest of it.
Can I just take one moment to metaphorically stand up and give you a small round of applause?
No, you can't.
Okay.
Because it ain't that great.
Right, okay, moving
God
on.
bless you. Right, I rang up for, I want to start a campaign, a sort of Jamie Oliver national campaign, to say that supermarkets need to give a sort of bog standard rate of charging us bog standard rates for food. I am sick and tired of 2 for 1s, buy one get one free, buy one get 2 free, reward cards, the lot of it. We have all types of people in this world, single parents, families, elderly, all the rest of it. And I honestly, let the supermarkets do not give anything away for free. No business person gives anything away for free. It's all a marketing ploy.
Yeah.
Please.
Lost leaders, they call them.
Yeah, can we just sort of say, I honestly, I hate it. It's like I go into the supermarket. You can buy 6 pieces of ham for £1.50, but you can buy 12 pieces of ham for £2.
Yeah.
No way. No.
I'm a sucker for all that stuff. If it's got a red sticker on saying 3 for 2 or you can buy 3 of these for £5, it doesn't really matter what it is. I will automatically think, without even doing the maths, that I am getting a great bargain. And then you come to the till and you read the receipt and you find out that you saved 17p on something that cost you £5.
But Nick, you know that the people up there doing all the sums and all the maths they're all very clever.
Geniuses.
Absolutely.
I sometimes get the feeling that they are deliberately trying to confuse you, because the amount of, and it doesn't really matter which supermarket you go in, they're all the bloomin' same, because they'll say, we've got offers now of if you buy 3 of these things, we'll give you the cheapest one free. But they'll have several offers on at the same time, which sort of look the same, and you think that you've done everything in order to get the free thing, but you actually haven't. You've mixed up your offer so that they will charge you the full price on everything that you've just bought, and you think that you've got one over on them, but actually it's the other way round.
Even Marks and Spencer's, which I thought, oh yeah, Marks and Spencer's. Now come on, Marks and Spencer's, the wonderful Marks and Spencer's.
Without mentioning any brand names over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I went in there the other day. They do exactly the same.
Like I said, they're all the same, and they'll do other things like, and you can buy 3 of these items spread across these shelves for £5, and then there'll be another thing running concurrently that says you can buy 3 of these items for £6. And you're trying to hold in your head what you put in your basket, and it becomes impossible. You need to be a raving genius to be able to do a supermarket shop these days.
And reward cards. I mean, come on, right? They're just taking a penny off you every blimmin' time. And it's like, oh, actually, you've shopped with us 100 times, we've got 100 pennies, and hello, you can have this for free now.
Well,
no, you're not getting it for free.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of reward cards. I mean, I feel as though I'm actually making money by shopping, almost as though if you shop there,
you're being sucked in.
I know I am. If you shop there every day of the week, they'll pay you money. That's the way it feels, as though, I'm getting a present.
I want a Jamie Oliver national campaign. Can we have bog standard rates all the time? It's absolutely ridiculous. My mind does not need to be in turmoil about, I just want to do my shopping. Please, I just want to do my shopping.
Sounds like you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown, Rebecca. Don't have it in a shopping aisle. Have it in the comfort of your own house, all right?
Yeah, absolutely right, Nick. I am in the comfort of my own house. Thank you very much.
All right, cheers, my dear. Ta-da, 0845 6060 973. Yeah, I do get the feel that the supermarkets are actually conspiring to confuse us with all of these supposed offers, which don't actually amount to very much. I mean, they will say, buy 3 cartons of juice for, I don't know what it is. How much is juice these days? What, £6, £7? Buy 3 cartons of juice for £23, and you think, wow, that's a great deal. And you end up and you realise that you've only saved a penny because you haven't done the maths. I believe they're deliberately trying to confuse us. And how many surveys come out? It seems like on a yearly basis somebody will say, well, as a country, it's an outrage because we throw away something of the order of 1/3 of the amount of food that we buy, which, considering that half the world is starving to death, is an outrage. I don't know who these people are that throw all this food away. I don't throw any food away. Tomatoes every now and again, because they never keep. What else? I freeze berries. I don't throw berries away anymore after I've discovered that you can freeze them. Apart from strawberries that don't freeze that well. All of the other berries, you just stick them in the freezer. Plop them in your porridge, and boom, there it is. But it does seem as though they're actively, deliberately trying to confuse their customers into spending more than they intended to by making it appear as though you're getting bargains when actually you're not, or making it very difficult for you to obey all the conditions that apply to some arcane rule. Buy 3 of these things for £5, and they'll be on the exact same shelf. They'll be buy 3 of these things for £6. And you don't keep in your mind what applies to what, and you just pile it all in your basket, thinking that you've obeyed the rules, but you have not. Well, that sounds like ripping you off to me. Maybe I'm being unkind. But the worst thing, because we apparently waste so much food, is buy one, get one free. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be panty liners, and I'll buy one and get one if I'm going to get one free. But it usually applies to fruit, and fruit tends to go off. And so you buy one, and you throw the free one away. They should stop doing that. I mean, I thought that governments of all stripes, because this has been going on for ages, I thought that they were going to put a stop to that. In fact, I thought supermarkets were going to put a stop to that, because it had been proven over and over again that it leads to food waste. And we chuck too much stuff away, there's no doubt about it. But there's people in this country that aren't getting enough food. Never mind about people in Ethiopia. Children are going to bed hungry in this country, and we are apparently throwing away something in the order of a quarter or a third of the food that we buy. That's what surveys say. I find that rather hard to believe myself, but if it's down in black and white, if it's on the internet, it must be true, right? Buy one, get one free. They should stop doing that. Here's a call in Sevenoaks. Hello, Joan.
Oh, hello.
Joan.
I want to tell you about, I went into my local supermarket and I was at the vegetables, and an elderly lady next to me said, I want a small Swede. But she said, look, they're either giant things or half of a giant thing. Next to them, packed in bags, were stew packs, carrot, onion, parsley, small Swedes. So I said to her, well, if you want a small Swede, I'll give you one. I just ripped open the bag and gave her one.
Guilty, Joan.
I ripped open the next bag and got one for myself, and the poor old soul, she said, is it all right doing this? I said, well, you're not going to steal it. You're going to pay for it when you get up the hill. And she said, thank you very much.
I think you need to present yourself to a member of the local constabulary, Joan, because you sound like a guilty person to me.
Well, another thing is they have revamped one of the stores in the high street. Now you can't buy loose apples by weight. You have to pay 58p each. So, Pink Lady apples at $2.95, 4 of them would have cost me weight. They weighed them £2.11. But because you've got to buy them 58p each, that's £2.32.
Actually, I've come very late in life to the realisation that and it seems the savings you can make seem absolutely extraordinary, and it seems hard to believe that anybody wouldn't do this. But often a supermarket will sell perfect pre-packed apples, for instance, on polystyrene trays covered in plastic with a nice little sticker on the top, and they will be let's say £2, like 50p each, as you just described, something like that. The very same thing will be in a loose, will be like stacked loose in a bucket just beside it, and if you pick it up yourself and put it in a bag, it's half price. The amount of times that I've seen, if you go to a supermarket where you weigh it yourself, or even the ones where they weigh it at the counter, it didn't make any difference really. The savings that you can make just by picking it up and putting it in a bag yourself, it's almost as though the polystyrene tray that pre-packed ones come on has been fashioned out of gold.
Well, I thought they were going to cut down on all the packaging. Every time you go in there now,
so did I.
Everything is in package.
Yeah,
package.
Exactly. It seems to be a constant I'm gonna. Oh, yeah, well, we're going to do that, and we're going to do that, and nothing ever gets done. You know how to cut back on packaging? You know how to persuade supermarkets not to package food in that manner?
Do what I do, rip them open and take things out.
Well, yeah, or you could not break the law and, at the counter, take all of... If every single person did this, it would take 1 week for supermarkets to change their mind. If every single person, if we decided as a country that we were mad as hell and we weren't going to take this anymore, if at the counter we took all of our food out of this unnecessary packaging and left it at the counter, then they would change their wicked ways instantly, if not sooner.
Right. So
we can do it, Joan. We have the power.
But was I doing something illegal, taking the Swede?
I can't say one way or the other. I'll have to refer to your local bylaws.
Next to me was very pleased. Anyway.
Right. Okay. Well, as long as you two are happy. Thanks a lot, Joan. 0845 6060 973. Do not break into pre-packaged foods before you get to the counter. That's breaking and entering, or something. I don't know that that's true. I just made it up. 0845 6060 973. Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3.
I think this is nonsense.
What? 0845 6060 973. This is Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3. Here's calling Woodford. Hello, Tony.
Hi.
Tony.
Nice to speak to you, Nick.
Hey, Tony.
I'm concerned about George Osborne because he made a speech a little while ago and he said that the full force of the law would come down on bankers that did wrong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Was he laughing when he said that?
Oh, I was laughing hysterically when he said it, yeah. But the thing is, I've just kind of been picking up on this Sir James Crosby, the top, used to be the top guy.
Sir James Crosby, yeah. You know what he was knighted for?
Services to banking?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was used to be the top man at H-Boss Bank. He presided over the bank when it lost £50 billion of money.
Drove a perfectly good bank off a cliff, yes.
Yeah, and the taxpayers has had to bail the bank
Us
out
poor
to the
dopes,
tune of
yeah.
£60 billion so far and counting. Why is he not in jail, Nick? Because...
Well, the reason is, if you want to know what what we're being invited to believe that the reason is, and the reason is that banks are too big not just to fail, but they're too big to prosecute.
No, but, yeah, I understand that, but I'm talking about the speech. I mean, if George Osborne has got credibility and is to be believed that he's a very good chancellor, why has he said that the full force of the law will come down on bankers that have done wrong? Now, this man has clearly done wrong, and yet he has got a pension pot of 25 million. Okay. 750,000 a year, which he can draw, I think, at least 50, he can start drawing it now. Where's the fairness in that? I just can't understand why he's not been prosecuted.
Well, there is no fairness. There is no fairness in it. There's not just fairness. There's no sanity in it. It's like the whole world has gone completely insane. It's almost, Tony, as though there has been a coup, and almost without us knowing, the whole. You know, a little while ago, I said I believe conspiracy theorists, only some of them.
Yeah.
I used to believe none of them. But people used to say, oh, well, there's this shadowy organisation of shifty individuals that actually run the world, unbeknownst to everybody that thinks it's their elected politicians that run the world. And I thought, I poo-pooed the idea, Tony. But come to find out, it's right. These shadowy individuals are called bankers. So there's one conspiracy theory that I am fully on board with now, because it appears to be undeniable. But why nobody is in jail for the crimes that have been committed against humankind? Probably, Tony, because they've got too much money. And if you've got a lot of money, then you can throw a gigantic amount of cash at any impediment in your way, at any fence that needs to be cleared. You will never pay for your crimes if you've got a lot of money.
The thing is, though, Nick, it's a bit rich that a person like that, as I say, can walk away with a massive pension pot.
Well, rich being the operative word. Yeah.
George Osborne makes a speech and says, you know, that the full force of the law will come down.
Right.
And by the same token, he's saying, you know, that the poor out of work people are benefit scroungers.
Yes.
I mean, it's a bit rich.
Comical.
Where a person can make, you know, collapse the bank and walk away with 25 million.
Well, here's the narrative, Tony, and you hear it from so many people. It's almost as though the central bank has written it for people to read out. And first of all, it's that the chief executives of the regulators on both in this country and in America have said almost the exact same sentence. Like I said, almost as though the banks had written the script for them. They said that we cannot go after banks legally. They are not only too big to fail, they're too big to prosecute because it would undermine confidence in the system. They actually said that. As though anyone has confidence in the system anymore.
Yeah, okay, I understand that, but I'm talking about this person.
Yeah, I get it. I know what you're saying. And I'll read you what they said in the Independent today. But thanks a lot for the call, though, Tony. Keep angry. Someone has to. Here's the Independent today, or rather yesterday, as it is now. And it's like I said before, the Independent really hit the ball out of the park today. That was an excellent, excellent issue, and they should be patting themselves on the back. All 6 people that put it together. HBOS losses have been underestimated by billions, according to the man who famously blew the whistle on the failed bank's overly aggressive risk-taking culture. Underestimated their losses by billions. I'm going to buy him a calculator and stick it in the post. Paul Moore added to the chorus of criticism demanding that Sir James Crosby, the former HBOS chief executive, and Lord Stevenson, chairman of the bank when it was rescued by Lloyds in September 2008, be stripped of their honorific titles. Oh, blimey. Is that all? Really? Stripped of their honorific... Yeah, that'll teach them. Oh. A Treasury Select Committee source also said that the gongs should be removed in the wake of a damning Parliamentary Commission on Banking Standards report last week that put the blame for HBOS collapse squarely on the pair, as well as Sir James' successor, Andy Hornby. These three experts... However, Mr. Moore, who was sacked as head of Group Regulatory Risk at HBOS in 2004 after warning that the bank would eventually find itself in terrible trouble, argued that the report failed to show just how bad the bank's losses have been. Now, I'm going to come back to this in just a minute, because I'm going to read an article, or a column rather, that a fellow wrote in the Observer today. It wasn't just the Independent that had a great day, the Observer didn't do bad either. Mr. Moore was sacked as head of Group Regulatory Risk. He was the fella that used to say, "Warning, warning! You're doing stupid things. You're driving this bank over a cliff, you fools." That was his job. And they fired him. What could possibly go wrong? The committee estimates that loans dished out by HBOS Corporate Division caused losses of about £25 billion between 2008 and 2011. That's how well that place was being run, by these experts. They lost £25 billion in 3 years. Wow, you have to be really going some to lose that kind of money. You have to really know what you're doing to be able to lose that kind of money in such a short period of time. But this £25 billion did not include the division's investments in business and shares of joint ventures that have also struggled so badly in the financial crisis. Mr. Moore, this whistleblower, this fellow whose job it was to point out risk, and when he did, they fired him. He said, "We don't know the exact number, that would be very difficult to find. But those of us who watch these things think that the additional losses on these investments would run into the billions." He says, "We need to know." Well, it would be nice, being as how, we're paying for them. A banking industry source suggested that this figure could be as high as, are you ready? Grip onto something firm, you might want to sit down. Another £10 billion. Though the way that Lloyds reorganised HBOS divisions after saving the group means that the Commission had to estimate losses we may never know. That is how complex and labyrinthine this system is. Deliberately confusing, you might think. Nobody going to jail. I'm going to read this thing, not all of it, just a bit, just enough to make you angry. This is Nick Cohen in The Observer. He says the self-pity of the British right swells in inverse proportion to its self-knowledge. And I wrote something similar to this just the other day on the blogs on lbc.co.uk. It does seem that the right are perpetually feeling as though they're being picked on. And it's not just in this country. In America as well, you see it even more viscerally in America. The Republican Party has spat the dummy out the moment that they were ousted from power.
Absolutely.
And they haven't stopped whining since. Like 5-year-olds. They would prefer that the entire country went down rather than they were ousted from power for just a second. As though they feel that they're born to rule. This is Nick Cohen again. Conservatives, of all people, ought to have been horrified when the state used taxpayers' money to prop up lame duck banks. Conservatives who shout the loudest about scroungers living off the taxpayers ought to have been the most concerned about sponging financiers. The right's folly lies in its inability to understand that bankers have not been bashed. Indeed, they have been barely slapped. And as an aside, I can remember this. Wasn't it Glittering Bob Diamond that said that the time for banker bashing is over? That's what he said. And there was no banker bashing either before or since. They have not been bashed. They have, at the very most, they have been tickled lightly about the tummy. That actually doesn't sound quite bad, does it? They've been tickled lightly about the tummy while dusky maidens have been handing them Turkish delight, if you please. That has been their punishment. Nick Cohen says, he's a fellow who wrote for The Observer today. He says, the right's folly lies in its inability to understand that bankers have not been bashed. Indeed, they have been barely slapped. The courts have jailed no one responsible for the crash. Instead of a never-ending trial for financial war crimes, there have been no trials whatsoever. No one has sought to compensate the taxpayer by confiscating the bonuses taken in the bubble. The Financial Services Authority has barred only a handful of bankers from working in the UK financial sector. And as I pointed this out yesterday, the fella that was running HBOS was also, coincidentally, at the same time, a higher-up in the Financial Services Authority. Just think about that for a moment. Are we stunned yet? I know I am. The Financial Services Authority has barred only a handful of bankers from working in the UK financial sector. Oh, well, boo-hoo for them. I'm sure that they can make themselves feel better by counting all their money. It's 1:15. I'm going to have to take a break. I'll come back to this in just a minute. This is Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3.
Now everybody's happy.
I'll take another call in just a minute. Let me just get to the end of this article. It's worth hearing it. This is Nick Cohen in The Observer, yesterday, Sunday. The taxpayer has injected approximately, and this is a number in pounds, you're not going to like it, the taxpayer, you, £65 billion into RBS and HBOS in share capital. £65 billion. A number so huge, I don't even know what it is. Those shares are currently showing a loss of £20 billion. You know, if you stole £20, then you might face going to jail. If you steal or cause the public to lose £20 billion, absolutely nothing happens to you whatsoever. You just shake that off like dandruff off your shoulder. The overall cost to the taxpayer, says Nick Cohen, is incalculably higher because we must now manage in a zombie economy with a crippled banking system that can't send credit to where it's needed. Yet, rather than punish those responsible, the coalition has cut their taxes. What? As in, just now. That is their punishment for this catastrophic failure. They get to keep more money. That'll teach them. The Parliamentary Commission on Banking Standards, well, you can't complain about banking standards because there aren't any. This Parliamentary Commission's account of how HBOS pre-tax losses reached £30 billion breaks the bankers' mythology. They thought they were the successors of respectable Victorian Yorkshiremen who founded the Halifax Building Society and the equally prudent founders of the Bank of Scotland. To their minds, they were simply unlucky managers, caught out by a crisis that they could not have predicted. Sir Ronald Garrick, director and deputy chairman, said that the HBOS board was the best board I ever sat on. What? Wow, I'd like to see a picture of the other boards he sat on. Even with the benefit of hindsight, Lord Stevenson, the chairman, says that far from being a giddy corporate dictatorship in which dissenters were fired, HBOS had an atmosphere where people were able to be very direct and blunt. What brought the bank down, he maintained, was the freeze in global wholesale money markets the day after Lehman Brothers went bust. In other words, in a nutshell, it weren't us, we ain't done nothing. It was like that when we got here. Staggering. They're still saying this stuff. It was the same line that Gordon Brown endlessly parroted, says Nick Cohen. A crisis that began in America destroyed the British banking system. No, we did it ourselves. The Banking Commission takes the wishful thinking apart with admirable brutality. Lord Stevenson and his colleagues' version of events represents a model of self-delusion, it says. The once respectable Bank of Scotland and Halifax went on an aggressive asset-led growth and took the quick and easy path to expansion without acknowledging the risks inherent in the strategy. Because HBOS was trying to muscle into new markets, it took risks sensible bankers would not take. In short, Americans didn't kill HBOS, it committed suicide. And it's not as if the managers were not warned. See, here comes the staggering, well, it's all staggering, but this is the staggering-er part. It's not as if the managers were not warned. The Banking Commission skates over the staggering case of Paul Moore, about whom I was talking just some moments ago. He was HBOS's head of regulatory risk in 2004, and he tried to talk sense into James Crosby, the chief executive. And guess what Crosby did? That's right, he fired him. Crosby fired his risk manager for warning of a risk. The subsequent careers of the two men sum up the degradation of the last decade, says Nick Cohen in The Observer. Moore, the risk manager, because he had spoken out, knew that not only would no other bank hire him, no headhunter would put him on its books. By contrast, Gordon Brown knighted Crosby and promoted him to serve on the Financial Services Authority. The man who sacked his risk manager for warning of a risk was now protecting the banking system. Small wonder this country's bust. I'm amazed we're all still here. Does anybody who is running anything know what they're doing?
No.
No. I wouldn't have these people run my bath. There is a more glaring fault, says Nick Cohen. The Banking Commission condemns the FSA, but, like the Tories and Labour, it will not recommend breaking up the banks by splitting up their high street businesses from the investment business. Banks that were too big to fail and had to be bailed out by taxpayers in 2008 are still too big to fail in 2013. Well, you know what? It's worse than that, because there's fewer of them. They absorbed each other by osmosis. You remember in biology when one tiny organism would bump into another and it would absorb it? That's what's happened here. The banks haven't become less too big to fail. They've actually become too big to fail. That doesn't make any sense. But do you know what I mean? Nick says, grasp this point, and the complaints about banker bashing turn from the ridiculous into something more sinister. The banking lobby is so unscathed, so unabashed, unbattered and unbruised, it has the muscle to prevent an urgent and necessary reform and can act as if the crisis never happened. So says Nick Cohen, and I agree with every single word you say. And I don't say that much about The Observer. Good work. It's exhausting. We're never going to get to the bottom of it. Nobody is ever going to pay for it apart from us. Poor dopes like us. The people who can afford it least will be paying the most. And by most, I mean all of it. Here's calling Chigwell. Hello, Bob.
Hello there.
Bob.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello there. No, it was... before all that conversation about banking, I happened to turn the radio on and heard you talking about this, about the supermarket.
Food, yeah.
Food. Well, I just thought it was a thing I noticed. I do my own shopping now, unfortunately, and I use the big supermarket, the biggest, and I noticed a little while ago they had a notice out everywhere, spend £40 and get £5 off your next purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now they've got a new one. You can spend £20 and get £5 off your next purchase, but to get that £5 off your next purchase, you've got to spend £40. So now you have to spend £65 to get £5 off your next purchase.
I'm a sucker for that stuff. There's a supermarket that I go to that spits out of, and it's my favourite part of the shop. You proffer your money at the end, and then they'll stick your card in the machine, and then they've got a little machine right next to them, and they spit out vouchers. ooh, it's like being at the fair and you win things, and they'll give you a voucher and it'll give you 40, reward points if you buy I don't know, whatever it is, like a jar of mush next time. Or they'll give you £10 off a £60 spend. I think, yay! And then you look at it and it says that you've got to spend it within like 3 days. And you just spent £3,000 on food that will take you through the next week.
No, well, it was only that thing that I noticed. I mean, you've got to spend. You used to get £40 to spend £5.
Yeah.
Well, what I did, I spent, as it happens, I spent £20 and got a £5 voucher. But what I did, I went down and give it to my daughter. She'll go in and spend £40 and get the £5 all just the same.
Right, I think I follow that. Yeah.
Anyway,
it sounds like you're transgressing the rules there, Bob. Guilty.
Anyway, it just struck me as a bit funny. That's
yeah. All right.
Okay,
cheers, Bob.
you,
Ta-da. 0845 6060 973. Or they'll give you a voucher that says £10 off £60. Although they'll give you 2 vouchers. One that says, and you've got to spend £60 twice. Well, I just do a big shop and then cut it in half. Put that plastic thing beyond which no one will stray. The divider on the supermarket treadmill thing there. And you just cut your own shop in half. But they couldn't, going back to the banks just for one moment, I'm going to take this next call after the news because I'm abutting the news break, so I don't want to take it now. But the stuff that's happening, it's staggering. And you think, well, what's happening in Cyprus couldn't happen here, could it? They couldn't possibly take our money straight out of our bank accounts because we're doing so much better in this country than they are in Cyprus. No, actually, we owe vastly more money than they do in Cyprus. Well, we are, I think there's only one nation, with the possible exception of Japan, I think there's only one other nation that is more indebted than we are. I mean, you wouldn't think it to look at us. I mean, things seem to be ticking along relatively fine. I mean, okay, there's potholes in the road that you could lose a car in. And by the way, if you are a cyclist, don't try and overtake cars. Just sit in traffic, because cars will swerve to avoid potholes, and they will do so before checking in their mirror. Like, I know that people are doing that. Be very, very cautious.
Warning! Warning!
Do not try and overtake a car, because first of all, they can't see you. And second, they're concentrating more on avoiding losing their wheels in potholes than sideswiping a cyclist who is, trying to weave through traffic. So be cautious. But apart from that, and apart from, all else that ails us, it doesn't seem that we're really, up to our eyeballs in debt that we can never pay back. And this is the end of civilization as we know it. It doesn't look like that, but, you just wait. Or we might sail through unscathed. Who knows? Couldn't happen to us, could it? What has happened in Cyprus? Britain's nothing like Cyprus. Cyprus is a small island far from the action, with contented natives who prefer not to notice as more and more of their wealth is bought up by oligarchically rich foreigners. No, nothing like us at all. I don't recognise us from that description. That's Cyprus. Our banks don't cripple themselves with out-of-control lending to those natives, presumably on the back of all those foreign investments. This is an article written in the Telegraph about a week or so ago. I mean, I could sit here and pontificate this stuff and make it up off the top of my own head, but if it's been written down for me, well, I'll borrow somebody else's words, just for a brief period. Swathes of central London have a depopulated air because its luxury apartments and vast villas exist increasingly to house Russians and Arabs who need somewhere to hang out while they negotiate their ownership of football clubs and department stores. Nothing like Cyprus, that has been inundated with Russian millionaires. Couldn't happen here. In Britain, where incomes have stagnated, prices have risen, the workings of the bank remain as opaque as ever. The real mistake over the Cyprus bailout would be to think that it couldn't happen here. People used to put their money under their beds, and the notion was poo-poo. That's the least safe place to put it. You want to put it in a bank, they said. They're not saying that anymore. I sound like a football supporter. You're not saying that anymore. 0845 6060 973. Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3. Time 12:30. Yeah, here's just before I take this next call, I'll just lay this on you. It'll give you nightmares. People with big deposits could suffer a haircut under planned European Union law if a bank fails, the EU's Economic Affairs Chief Olli Rehn said. A haircut. In other words, that's just a benign way of saying they'll steal your money. They'll steal your money to make up for their own mistakes. Haircut. Not even Kim Jong-un has a worse haircut. Plans from Brussels put the onus back on bank depositors rather than the taxpayer to bear the cost of bank failures. Wouldn't it be nice if the bankers themselves bared the cost of their own failure? Cyprus was a special case, says Mr. Rehn, the EU's Economic Affairs Chief, but the upcoming directive assumes that investor and depositor liability will be carried out in case of a bank restructuring or a wind-down. That's wonk speak for they'll take your money. But there is a very clear hierarchy, he said. At first the shareholders, then possibly the unprotected investments and deposits. However, the limit of €100,000 is sacred, he says. Deposits smaller than that are always safe. Yeah, right. Write that down on a piece of paper and keep it safe. And then put it through a shredding machine and throw it in the bin. Mr. Rehn was speaking in an interview with Finnish television after Cyprus last month forced richer depositors to suffer heavy losses in order to secure a €10 billion bailout from the EU and the International Monetary Fund. Which is very interesting because the Troika, the EU, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, the European Central Bank, all of these people, where do they get the money from? Do they magic it out of thin air? Do they grow special trees with money leaves? No, they get it from countries. Countries are broke. These organisations are broke. Broke organisations are lending money they don't have to broke countries who have no hope of ever paying it back. Now, what makes you think that the entire world's gone insane? Cyprus had initially planned to make people with deposits under the crucial €100,000 mark take a cut also before backtracking in the face of an outcry. In the face of an outcry at the point of a gun. Smaller depositors are supposed to be protected by state guarantees. Mats Persson, or Pearson, director of think tank Open Europe, said there's so much uncertainty around the precedent set by the Cyprus bailout that his comments may still cause some jitters. Mr. Rehn also said that the European Central Bank should launch fresh action to help boost the recession-hit Eurozone economy. Fresh action. What are they going to do to us now? I mean, for us now. But it's okay, they said, the authorities say that your money is safe with them. Here's a call in Orpington. Hey, Ray.
Hi, Nick.
Oh, hello, Ray.
My deposits are never that big, so no worries there.
I know. Fortunately, I don't have any money, so I'm safe.
Does our arms trade use the buy one, get one free gimmick when it comes to ballistic missiles, tanks, and
I bet they do.
military advisors?
I bet bags of cocaine and hookers are exchanged.
Take out Iraq and get your arms thrown in for free.
Yes.
Now, bashing the bankers, I mean, it always sounds like innuendo, doesn't it? But, I mean, the right wing in politics and banking, they're just like the right wing at prayer, aren't they? I mean, they wail that they're being persecuted by being stopped from persecuting others.
Yeah, exactly right. That's it in a nutshell.
No,
It's like somebody in a bar comes up to you and punches you in the face and then complains to the constabulary that you've asked them not to punch you in the face anymore.
Or you graze their knuckles on your teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, this teenager on ill-advised tweets, I have nothing to worry about because my record's clean, never having tweeted, but I'm thinking of applying for the post of advising socialists on how to interact with the real world. Now, my left-wing credentials are impeccable. I mean, anything that could be construed to the contrary, I want it complaint. It was said in jest, all right? So, but I love your Laurence Olivier, Richard III impressions, by the way. You know the film, you see the old Olivier film, have you, of Richard III?
You know what, I can't stand Laurence Olivier. He always seemed like a gigantic ham to me. I just think he's just insufferable.
Oh yeah, look, watch me emote, everybody. But there's
just a dreadful actor. He's supposed to be one of the world's greatest actors of all time. He just looked comically awful to me.
Oh, you can pick up certain tricks and tics, like when he wants to be emotional, he would look at the camera and his sort of eyelash would flicker. And once you've seen him do it, you think, oh, he's doing that one again. So I agree with you. But in the Richard III, you know, he's sort of annoyed that the Queen's sort of promoted all her relatives. He keeps saying Lord Rivers and Lord Grey, and you keep reminding me of that one. You say, keep it up. But I am a bit sick of this endless winter of our discontent.
Yeah, I'll say. Good work there, Ray. You almost raised the tone of the show. Almost.
I do my best.
Thanks a lot. 0845 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. Some texts and emails. Oh, this is about... I've had some suggestions about children and getting their way, how children actually make family decisions. Michelle says, when I was a kid, we were the remote control and the aerial, usually standing on one leg behind the TV. Aerials. Indoor aerials. I remember them well. Chris says, children deciding what's for dinner. Like you in my childhood, we were given... We got what we were given and were thankful. There are children in Africa that would be glad of that. Yeah, I remember that too. What about the poor children in Ethiopia? They would crawl 10 miles down like a rocky ravine to have fish and chips like you got on that plate. Eat it up. That's actually not how my mother sounded at all. Why did I give her that voice? There are children in Africa that would be glad of that, says Chris. That's what he used to hear. And a sullen reply of, well, send it to him then. Earned you a clip around the ear. Yeah, and quite right too. Disagreeable child. Joan says, I reckon parents let kids decide a lot more today because the kids kick off like spoilt divas if whatever isn't how they want it. Are you actually reading this stuff before you cut and paste it? I think a little editorial control is required. I'll just read it as it's written. They kick off like spoilt divas if whatever isn't what they want it and ruin everything. What? I have no idea. Letting them get their own way makes for a quieter, easier life. No, it doesn't. Just say no. No, 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 no.
Yes.
I'm afraid my two didn't win because I kicked off worse when they tried to push me. I was the parent, not them. There you are, you see. Joan's got it right. This one says, I personally think that children do, in a way, rule the houses now. Parents want less hassle around them, so what the kids say goes, which echoes the previous suggestion, yeah. But I think that you're setting yourself up for even worse hassle if you let them get their way, because if you let them run over you once, then they will always do it. Rita says, shamefully in most families, children make decisions rather than the parents. That's why families are messed up and have no unity. And Chloe, aged 14, says, my mum doesn't let me make decisions. Big decisions, anyway. It's too much responsibility. A friendship and respect shouldn't be bound on making freedom of every decision. I love my mum as she helps and guides. For example, she tells me to save and not spend any money. No, spend it. Don't save a penny, Chloe. It's not safe. And particularly don't put it in the bank. Don't even put it in a piggy bank. And that is not the official position of LBC 97. Don't listen to me. Go and speak to a financial advisor.
Warning, warning.
But hide your money from them. Just ask for a financial advisor, but don't tell them you've actually got any money. Because they will see that money, and they will want to purloin it for themselves. I'll come to some more of those in just a minute. Meanwhile, here's a call in Streatham. Hello, Sally.
Hello, Nick.
Sally.
I just want to talk about supermarkets. The yoghurts. Those Greek ones.
Yeah.
Well, I've always had them. and they always come in a pack of 6 with 2 different flavours, 3 flavours. And they were sold 2 for £4. Well, now they've cut them down to 4, and they're all one flavour. And the 2 4-packs now come to £4.
You know, yoghurt is the waste product of the dairy industry.
Stop that.
No, it is.
Anyway,
it's curdled milk. They used to throw that stuff away, and then they realised, wait a minute, if we put it in a pot and we
I've got a Turkish friend who makes it. It's beautiful.
And we take away the taste by
You've already turned me off with so many things.
by squirting some fruit up it, then people will pay for the stuff that we would ordinarily have thrown away.
Anyway, I want to tell you that a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about the pensioners and they're all in the pubs.
What?
Yeah, there was one of them, Osborne or Cameron, when they was doing all this, you know, how we're so wealthy.
Yeah.
Well, if you have Meals on Wheels, it comes to about £10, which I wouldn't be able to get anyway.
£10 for what?
For a meal.
One meal?
Hmm.
One meal is
no,
£10?
You get your dinner and a sweet, but you should have it delivered. I don't know if they do it anymore.
No,
anyway.
wait a minute, Sally. Meals on Wheels?
Yeah, you've got to pay for them.
One meal is £10?
As I've been told, yes. You have to ring Age Concern, because I haven't had them, although I'm old. My Meals on Wheels, and all my friends now, and all my old folk...
That seems like a lot. I'm very surprised. I would have, if I had been betting, I would have said £3, £4, 10. That seems like a lot.
No, it's not for... Oh.
You could walk into a fancy a fancy-ish restaurant, Sally, and buy a meal for £10.
Oh, yeah, well, we go. We get on a Tuesday we have a steak night, which is $6.99. Thursday a curry night, which is $6.99, and then in the week I have ham, egg and chips, which is like £3.29. So I can avoid the supermarkets because they keep wanting to sell me one loaf and buy another free, and I haven't got the room and I only eat one loaf of bread in a fortnight after what you said about bread.
What did I say about
milk
bread?
As well, I don't have much milk because of the mucus. It's all your fault. But I am having vitamin B injections. I think it's because of you.
It's nothing. Don't listen to what I say, Sally. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I listen, and I've done the 2 days non-eating, fasting.
Have you?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well, very well.
Really?
I mean, I'm 73. I've just decorated my bedroom, so...
What do you mean?
Well, that ain't bad, is it?
You decorated your bedroom with paint?
Yeah.
Right, for a moment there, I just got... I don't know, my mind just went, she's decorated her bedroom. That's like a euphemism for throwing up, isn't it?
In your world, not mine.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Yeah, I'm guilty in that respect. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Eat something every now and again, Sally. Please, do yourself a favour.
Brilliant. You're on all the week. I'm loving it.
All right, thanks a lot, Sally. I am on all this week. Anthony's back on Sunday, is that right?
Yep.
Where's he gone?
Away.
What, like a stroppy teenager? Where are you going? Out. Nick Abbott, LBC 97.3.
Come on, we're running late!
This is the narrative, and all parties seem to be jumping on the same bandwagon apart from the Lib Dems, and they are saying, as with one voice, that the problems that ail society are not from the banking racketeers, it's the fault of the poor. Look at the people below you, it's their fault. And they will paint them as rats. How many times have you read that in the newspapers? Now, is there any... is that ringing any bells from history? Painting an entire underclass as rats. Ringing any bells at all? They're playing the blame game. But they're not blaming the right people. Here's Colin Watford. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, this whole business, you know, it doesn't matter what, you know, area of life, you know, it is. Like you say, the...
Those are the only you-knows you get.
Ah... used them all up already. I'll try not to say that anymore.
Yeah. I bet you'll fail, but carry on.
Oh, no. I must admit, I've been pretty good recently. Yeah. But I was just going to say that this is the problem with capitalism. I just thought this is what it's all about. It's about taking what you can, taking everything, and giving as little in return as you possibly can.
Well, yes and no. But I think that there isn't really much wrong with capitalism because it has fueled the...
Greed.
Well,
Greed.
But I know it's what Gordon Gekko said in that movie, but to a certain extent, greed is good up to a certain point. But beyond that point, then capitalism becomes twisted. It's not a free and open market for everybody to explore the limits of their own ability. It's become it's almost like a coup has taken place, and it's not capitalism. It's more like, well, I don't really know. It's more like it's like a twisted form of communism, where there is the communist elite with their metaphorical zill lanes, and all the rest of us worker ants who are doing who are actually making things run, and all the money is not trickling down to us; it's trickling up to them.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to hospital, and it's the same.
I pretend I didn't hear that.
Thanks. It's the same all over. I just think that it's a case of putting in as least as you possibly can, window dressing, that sort of thing, and
Is that what you do for a living?
No, I just had a visit with somebody in hospital.
Oh, I mean window dressing.
Oh no, I don't. But the people who run these places, it's all about what it looks like. It's all about impression. It's all about.
Were you talking about Are you talking about a hospital?
Yeah. I think even a hospital, it's all about, I noticed in this place, I won't say names, but it's all nice and spanky-danky inside.
Well, I would hope so.
But people have got to still go outside to actually go from one part of the block to another in the freezing, snowing weather. Don't think about things like that, about actually making it, and it's quite possible for one wing is actually connected to the other one, but no, somebody's closed the door, blocked it with a piece of wood, so you can't go from one part of the hospital to another unit without going outside. I just thought this is crackers in this day and age. So you've got old people freezing themselves off, having to go actually outside in the snow to get from one wing to another.
In their little flappy hospital gowns with their bottoms hanging out.
But they have got a nice artificial plant in the foyer.
Yeah, and some piece of a dreadful modern art.
That's it.
Yeah, stuck in a courtyard.
That's it.
I've seen it.
Just, it's the same all over. I just thought with the business with the roads as well, it's like they take all this money from the revenue and where is it being spent on the roads? And admittedly, when they do the roads, it does create a lot of hold-ups. I mean, I was listening...
But why, though? I mean, honestly, you could fix a pothole in the road in moments flat. You do not need to put cones around it for 6 weeks before anybody shows up and leans on their shovel and peers into it.
Well, this is true. I mean, I must admit, it is possible, and they try to avoid, I think they try to avoid night working because it costs a lot. But like you say, if they change the attitude to actually fixing the bits that need fixing instead of, like you say, the whole lot, it's quite possible. And I was sort of cyclist, and it is a nightmare to actually go about.
Honestly, the state of the roads at the minute, I think it's probably you're taking your life in your hands to ride it, because a car, your wheel might come off, and that's about as bad as it'll get. You'll still remain relatively safe in your car, but a cyclist, the smallest hole, and you can be bouncing off somebody's bonnet.
Well, and also I remember when I did the proficiency years and years and years ago, they said, how far should you be on the bike from the curb? And I remember saying a foot. They said, oh no, you've got to be more like 18 inches. And the thing is, I thought, well, that seems a bit over the top.
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Well, the thing is, you've got these drains, and they are massive.
Oh, yeah.
If you go too close, I mean, there's some of these things you'll literally get. It's like a cattle grid. Some of these things are huge. These drains. And to be honest, if it's really bad, I will consider jumping up on the pavement, because I've had this once in London, and fortunately around here, unofficially, they seem to be quite sort of lenient, and but I know in London it's different up there, but around here they're quite sort of lenient. And
you can ride on the pavement? Does that not get you a clip around the ear?
Well, it does officially, but I think they tend to take a sort of more open-minded view around here,
Yeah.
but that's completely off the record.
That's extremely dangerous, Dave, because if a large person such as yourself, I've got no idea how large you are, but you're a grown adult, on a bike, if you hit a pedestrian, well, you could die of that just as... Oops, sorry, my dinner's backing up on me. You could die of that just as much as you being hit by a car. But you're in a difficult position because you can't drive on the roads because of the state of them. What strikes me is I wonder if they're actually going to fix them, or whether we're in such dire states financially that they're just going to say, "Oh, the hell with it." That's just what they're like now.
Well, they've done absolutely nothing. There was about 10 or 15 years ago, there was a real push on these cycle lanes, and again, I know that there has been probably more in London, but in the suburbs like Watford, it stopped as soon as the requests and the protests about not having any cycle lanes stopped. So did the actual instigation of more cycle routes, and I have not seen any progress on cycle routes in like 10 years. Even places like Harrow have got dotted lines which kind of warn drivers to keep their distance, a certain distance from the curb. If there are cyclists, at least to be cycle aware.
Well, there was an article in one of the papers today that said that apart from in London itself, and I think one other place, the name of which I can't remember, cycling is just going to gradually die out in the rest of the country because more and more people will be using the roads in their cars, and there will be precious little space for people to be on a bike. It doesn't seem like Holland has got it right, and I suppose that there is moves to install these cycle lanes, as you've mentioned, in London, but still, you're still sharing the same road space with people in cars. And the thing about people in cars is they're all completely insane. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know where they're going. They don't know whether they're going to turn left or right. They've got no idea what's behind them, in front of them, or beside them. People in cars aren't paying attention to where they're going or what they're doing. I know that that's true.
Yeah, I mean, the guy next door to me has just got a motor. Our lesson next door has just got a motorbike.
I'll give him 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I'm going to send a bunch of flowers to a hospital near you, and he'll get them eventually.
Use it for the centre of reservation, just to tighten it up a bit. I mean, it is. I mean, there's so many things I want to cycle all my life that if I could write a book on, you have to assume anything. You can't go by the highway code. You have to stop at a roundabout because nobody will ever indicate. Nobody will ever stop. For sure, if you're on a roundabout on a bike, you have to wait on a roundabout for somebody coming in from one of the exits, one of the entrances, because they will not necessarily see you.
Let me ask you a question about this, Dave. What manner of clothing do you wear on your bike? I bet you wear black shoes, black trousers, black jacket, and a black hat. Am I right?
No, I do use I've got lights. I've got a high vis thing, but sometimes they just want to squeeze it. I mean, I must admit, I learnt my cross years and years ago. What could have been a really bad accident, and the worst one in Watford was about 10 years ago. There's like a ring road, and the lights went green, so I was set to go across the ring road, and just in the corner of my eye, I could see the cars sort of coming around the ring road, and I sort of presumed that they would be stopping because naturally, my set light is green, that they must have been red.
Yeah, you assumed that?
You can't assume anything. And all of a sudden, like, the hoot in the bibs, and I've got somebody right next to me, and the only thing to do in that situation was to literally abort. I couldn't brake, I just had to abort the turn. Like,
abort.
I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do a U-turn, even though...
You're not in a submarine, Dave. Abort.
Right, so what do they call it? Periscope up.
Yes.
And all of a sudden looked up, and both sets of lights are green. And that was the first. I must admit, I've not had that before. Yeah, both phases.
Here's what you must assume when you're on the roads, that everybody else, apart from you, is a lunatic, and they don't know what they're doing. And then you won't go too far wrong, Dave, because believe me, I know that I'm right when I say this, that if somebody is in a car, then they're listening to Van Halen on the stereo.
Rock and roll!
And they're not paying attention to you. And that little flashing light that you got on the front of your bike, they can't see that. I know that's true. Anyway, I've got to go. Best of luck. You're going to need it. I'm Nick Abbott in for Anthony Davis all this week. And the next voice that you hear on LBC 97.3 will be that of the delightful Duncan Boggs.
Thank you, Nick. And London's biggest conversation continues after 1. Boris Johnson, the mayor of this city, writes a weekly column for the Daily Telegraph, and it appears every Monday morning. I've just had a look. Migrants get jobs because we're not prepared to work as hard, says Bojo. Labour's education policies left our young people lacking the skills or ambition to compete against migrant workers. So is Boris right to say migrants have a better work ethic? And if the answer is yes, who is to blame? 0845 6060 973 is our number if you'd like to be part